last night to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant!
Judgment, Austin.
Chloe, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh! You wanna get sued?
Judgment, Austin.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a-running. But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, boss. I love it when he does that.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative, and it's so good to see all of you guys today. I saw Trent, I saw Mally Cat, Cinderella, Little Miss Sharon. It's so good to see you guys. And then I saw let's see here, Andrea and Astrology from a Six with Jen, and also MMO Tarot. Good to see you. And I saw Town Chat Cafe. I saw your emails. I'm so sorry. I've just been really busy. And then also I'm not like super duper tech savvy. So when it comes to some of these rabbit holes I'll jump down, I really have to understand what I'm watching and what I'm, to understand what I'm looking at, right? If that makes sense. Because it's just like, when you're trying to understand the technical aspects of it, would this really, YouTuber, good to see you. Would this really work out? Could this be a possibility? So I have to understand, like, even when I'm looking into ham radios, which people were reminding me of that too. So thank you, Jen and Bullhorn Betty. I was like, yeah, oh my gosh, I forgot about that kind of stuff too. So we're going to go over a lot of it. I didn't pull in a whole lot of visuals, which I'm very visual myself, but I figured we can kind of talk through it, and then maybe I can make some videos and we can do a part 2. But I also wanted to shout out to Linda Hall and Forget Me Not. Thank you for being here, guys. Hey, Michelle. Yeah, Michelle says barely can work my phone. I know, and that's my thing. I mean, it's like I've had probably all the phones. Like, I had a pink BlackBerry. I've had a burner phone too, like in between phones, right? Like, I think I got mad at my phone company one time and just like decided to buy a track phone or something like that. I remember buying it. But it's been so long. And then I also was like, well, is that even really a thing anymore? Since, people are kind of onto the burner phones, but there's ways that you can be really sneaky about buying one, which is good in some ways, depending on how you're looking to use that, right? So, hey, Cooper, good to see you. So, that's my thing, is where I'm just stuck with all of this information. And so I figured, well, I'll just come up here and share it, and then we'll go over, because I'm sure you all probably have some interesting things to add too. So I figured it could be a free-for-all in that regard, because in terms of like the ham radios, from what I can understand, and help me out, hey, little Redo, and help me out, please. And also, good to see you, Kelly. I didn't know if I don't even think I wrote you down, Kelly. Good to see you, Kelly Holcomb. But yeah, so with the ham radios, it's interesting because, there has to be antennas in order for the communications to happen, right? One, you can put antennas in certain areas and pick up on different frequencies, right? That helps it go further. But it has a lot to do with frequencies, and also it's not as private as, say, a burner phone would be, because you would actually other people could pick up on the frequency, right? And again, excuse me if I'm not articulating this as well as maybe somebody who has the knowledge. So yeah, Michelle says you could use a CB. Yeah, and that's another thing too. Like, that's a whole different frequency than a ham radio would be, right? So I jumped down the rabbit hole of all of these different communications that could possibly have been used. And the thing is that Katie Proudfoot is very much savvy at this, right? She's trained, she knows it well. And so she could probably come up here and tell me about how these communications work better than I could ever explain it myself, right? Because I don't have the experience. I'm a big believer in, schooling and education, but also experience is a whole nother level of understanding, in my opinion. So if you have the actual experience using these things, then you're going to be better at it. Hey, Sasha Johnson, good to see you. So in GA64, hello, welcome in everyone. And I'm sorry if I miss anyone. Sometimes when I go down these rabbit holes, my brain goes way too fast. But again, like I said, it's mainly because I don't have the kind of training and understanding that maybe other people would. So I'm not saying that anybody use this technology. I'm not saying that I know 100% anybody in the military could do anything like this. I just know that from what I can understand from Katie's background, that she probably would have the knowledge on how to operate these things. Also, ham radios, just like jammers, can be homemade. So that's whole nother rabbit hole to go down, right? Walkie-talkies. Yeah, Michelle. See, that's the thing. Hey, Lori. And then I also saw, hey, SI officer, good to see you. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, there's so many different ways to communicate. I would just be really nervous that someone else would pick up on the frequency that I'm using. But then again, how many people use walkie-talkies on the regular still? That's what I'm wondering as well. Hey, Carla. So, I mean, it's Astrology for Mystics says, yeah, both Chris and Katie have the knowledge. Yeah, and I would say so, right? I mean, I would definitely, I just wouldn't want Chris up here, giving me the 1-2. I'll tell you what, because that would be pretty, that would not be pretty. Trent says ham radio is like a CB, not much longer range, yet a license to broadcast on a ham radio, though. Well, okay, thank you so much, Trent, because that's another thing, too, that I learned, that you have to, there's like a network of people that are kind of into this. They call it a hobby, as much as I can understand from a lot of the videos I was watching. But yeah, you have to have a license to kind of broadcast over these wavelengths, right? Or these frequencies. So thank you, Trent, for saying that, because that's another thing that I'm so, like, again, not as versed in, and I wouldn't understand really unless I was watching these videos to, kind of pick up on it. I like smoke signals. Yeah, there you go, Trent. And that'll be another rabbit hole. Thanks a lot. No. I'll be down there thinking, could they have done smoke signals in any way? But it's just to evade detection, right? We're kind of thinking of things, right? Because of what law enforcement has said, which is there is no evidence. I'm thinking, how would they get around there being no evidence, right? And then that, of course, makes me think that it's all premeditated. It's all premeditated. Hey, Holly S., good to see you. Like Morse code, right? Exactly. Hey, they could have been doing Morse code in that one interview. The only hand, somebody said that, and I was like, yeah, they could have been communicating that way, right? If the taps, the long, but he wasn't doing like any like long, but maybe when he was pausing, that could have been, when you pause, that'd be the long, and then the little short, like I know, kind of Morse code, And like, of course, it reminds me of when I was younger and I'd play walkie-talkies like with my brother or something like that. So, yeah. And see, this is the thing. This is such a good comment. Jen says, military communication systems employ various techniques to maintain secrecy and avoid detection, including encryption, directional transmission, frequency hopping, and mesh networks. Like, whoop. That went way over my head. You know what I mean? Like, if I think about it, now that I've been watching these videos, I know a little bit, but I mean, like, so basically, if they could hop from frequency to frequency to be undetected, right? Because if we're thinking about it in terms of military strategy, it's so they can survive, right? And so no one knows about their communications. And so they would have to be very secretive, yes, encrypt messages so that they can't be intercepted by anyone else, right? Mainly the enemy, which I don't want to think of it like that. I feel like I'm going in enemy territory just putting up mama socks like that, on the screen. But hey, she was talking about bling bling when Sebastian's missing. I mean, what is that? Is it currency for what happened? I'm sorry, but I can't get that out of my head. It's really amazing to me that in that moment you would be talking about anything other than where Sebastian could be at that very moment when he's first gone missing. But instead, Mama's talking about the bling bling. And Astrology for Mystics says these methods aim to make it difficult for adversaries to intercept, decrypt, and disrupt communications. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jen. And that's so true. And what I'm learning too is that you could put, say, antennas up in order to kind of create your own, even up to like 300 miles, which we're talking about, 227-ish miles from, point A to point B when it comes to Mr. Proudfoot. So I'm speaking of Memphis to, Hendersonville or vice versa. And we know that he travels those roads quite frequently. I'm still not convinced that he wasn't in the area, because there was a lot of upset feelings when it comes to the geofencing that was done, or when we were even talking about it, right? Like anybody that was talking about it, they didn't like it. I guess I should say that, Chris Proudfoot hopping up on panels and such is what I'm referring to. Hey, BMW Coupe, good to see you. So, yeah, they're militarily trained in communications. Hello, like that's, it's huge. It's huge. And, not only that, I think that with the surveillance aspect of it, that's also what makes me wonder if the jammers were used. I do think they were, if I think about it too much, but that's another rabbit hole. But I do think that something jammed the cameras up that night because there were several homes that were experiencing technical difficulties, and that would explain why. Of course, this is all, in my opinion, I'm just a regular person. That's really curious. Yeah, cell phone lights flashing on and off. Hey, Hindsight, good to see you. I think everyone should learn Morse code for emergencies. Must learn it. I live in a apocalyptic movie, by the way. Yeah, well, that's another thing, YouTuber, because of course with these ham radios and things, a lot of people who are preppers use them. And I always like to watch the prepper show, but I'm not a prepper myself. I just think it's fun to watch, and they're always talking about that way of communication because, of course, if say the grid fails or something, apocalyptic does happen, which it could. Then what would we do, right? So, I mean, those of us who survived it would have to survive, right? And good to see you, Alicia Hot Wheels. I'm able to watch and chat. I'm like, ooh, a new laptop. That's what I need. Ooh, that's what I'm talking about. Pretty soon I will have it. I'm glad that you got one too. Let's see. It's good to see everyone coming in. I think I'm going to play this first. So I came up with one video. I was going to do, and again, I just kind of got lost in all of it. So I was going to do like a ham radio video that I found. One of the guys did a really good job on it, but I decided to just pull in this other burner phone one because I thought it was really interesting how, and that's kind of more the direction that I'm going in, is just, I mean, because I know that they would be able to do this, but then again, how much would it be? It would just be so much easier with a burner phone, like I said, and you'll see why I think that. In my opinion, they were, says Holly S. That definitely indicates premeditation. Yes, it does. I'm gonna go ahead and oh yeah, Jen. Yeah, makes me so mad to think how Chris is walking around, in my opinion, with his chest out as he duped Ellie. He's smart though, not sloppy, other than his BA attitude. Yeah, well, and that's what is causing everybody to think that maybe something happened because of his attitude, right? Well, in my opinion, that's really what makes me think that, because some of the things I think back that he said, I'm like, why would you ever say something like that, right? And I do think he taunts us with the pig fest shirt, and so I did put that up there. One thing that I've learned too about studying these weird people, in my opinion, with personality disorders and stuff, is that they don't have any remorse. They're very self-serving, and that goes along with that territory. But one thing, even in the little mini mystery that we did when I did it based on a true person, and that guy Carrie, I mean, he is absolutely someone who had a lot of issues and who was, awkward socially. And I always look for those characteristics, and someone who would taunt the police like he did. I mean, he sent them a letter in the mail, and we're talking about, back before there was a lot of the technology that we have now. Hey, Kathy Bartholomew, good to see you. So, but I think this regular technology is easy to spot, Yeah, I have to agree there, Sasha, too, with the money. Why would these people go through all of this to get rid of Sebastian when he could just call Seth and turn him over to him? I think money is involved for these people. Well, and there could be something where they're being very cruel, and keeping him away. But I just don't think that they thought it was going to get to this point where everybody was going to be wondering about Sebastian, asking questions. I mean, we're kind of relentless, I think, even though you might hear things like, oh, nobody cares and nobody's talking about Sebastian. I think that there's enough people that care. There's 66 people in here that care. So, I mean, that's good enough for me. On a larger scale, there may be other people that will watch this video later, or that maybe never heard of Sebastian before, but search a hashtag because they saw it on America's Most Wanted, something like that. I have to kind of look at that positive aspect of it. Yeah, his whole character says so. Yeah, and he does seem very cocky, right? And that's another thing that even Chris McDonough was saying on Josh's show, The Lab. He said he was like, the longer that it goes on, the more cocky that the perpetrator will get, right? And again, this is all alleged in my opinion, but we have to take these different things that we're seeing that are similar and kind of assimilate to form an opinion. And I wish that law enforcement would come out and put to bed some of the rumors, right? The ones that they could without ruining the integrity of the case. But in my opinion, it makes me wonder when I'm just sitting here by myself, what integrity does the case have if there's no evidence? If there's no evidence, then what are you ruining the integrity of? And again, another thing that I think about is when, Chris McDonough talks about releasing details to the public in that fashion in order for us to help. And they haven't done that. As a matter of fact, they've let the rumor mill get so nasty. Why? Hey, couponing, good to see you. Good to see you, good to see you. Okay, so I'm going to show you this. This is just so easy to do. Here we go.
Right now, I'm sitting in the middle of the Walmart parking lot, and I just bought my 11-year-old daughter a burner phone. Now, first, let me explain how you do it, how easy it is. First, I'm recording this video in January of 2024. So sometimes people tell me, oh, you can't buy burner phones anymore. You can do that in the past. You can do that back in the day. That's all nonsense. Now, when it comes to buying burner phones, here's how you do it. Here's how ridiculously simple it is to get one of these phones. First, go to some place like Target or Walmart. I'm sitting in the Walmart parking lot. I went to Walmart. You go to their electronics aisle. You find a track phone. I'm going to show you the box of the phone right here that I just bought. Right here, track phone. You get one of these track phones. Then you get minutes. You can obviously pick how many minutes you want, right? So you get the minutes card, then you get the track phone box. This is a flip phone I got her because remember, I'm only using this for this time she's going to be alone for emergency purposes. So I got this, it was $19.95. I bought a short time of minutes just because she's only using it for that one day, and that also cost me $19.95. After tax, the amount I spent on our burner phone plus minutes was $43. But because I want to do it the right way, because I have a lot of clients who are escaping abusive spouses, they're escaping bad relationships, they really want a burner phone that nobody knows about, I did it the way I teach my clients and the way I always do it when I get my own burner phone for my very high-end clients. Go to Walmart, go to the electronics aisle, you take out this box, you take out the minutes. You walk up to the counter and you say, I need to pay for this and I need somebody to activate it here for me. So you will pay for it. Like I just said, mine was $43. Because you want it to be a true burner phone, don't use your credit card, you're going to pay cash for it. So I gave them $50 in cash, they gave me my change. And then I reiterate again, can I please have somebody activate this for me? Because they're going to tell you, they're not going to want to do their job. They're going to tell you, oh, you can just go online and activate it, just go set up an account and activate it. That requires your personal information. Do not do it that way. So in my case, after I said, hey, I would like somebody to activate this for me, the woman who's helping me said, oh, Julie, or whatever her real name is. Oh, Julie's the person that activates the track phones. She'll be right with you. So I waited around. Julie came. I looked at the clock when she started. She opens the box. She takes it out. She calls, does everything. It was 6 minutes from start to finish of when she activated the phone. It's the new one that I got my daughter, the new track phone. So 6 minutes, start to finish. She gave me this phone. It works. When they are activating this phone, they will say, hey, what area code do you live in? Or what area code do you want to use? I live in Utah, but I grew up in Northern Virginia, area code 703. So I said, oh, I want a 703 area code for this. So they put in 703 and then it generates the number, however track phone does it. And so 703 area code. If you are doing this for pure privacy purposes, escaping an abusive spouse, you absolutely do not want to use the area code of where you live in. So if you're going to go buy this track phone at Walmart, have an area code in your head. Pick a random place. Pick Florida, Wyoming, Michigan. Just pick some state, some area code that you want them to use. And that is how easy it is and how quickly you can get a burner phone off the books, not attached to your credit card. Nobody knows that you have it because they don't ask for any personal information. When she's activating this for me, the only question she asked me is what area code did I want to use for this? 703. She didn't ask me for my name. She didn't ask me for an email address. Sometimes they ask you if you have an email you want associated. Always say no if they ask you, but in this case, she didn't ask me anything. And 6 minutes later, I had my phone. So don't let anybody tell you you can't buy a burner phone these days and that it's hard to do. I was in and out of Walmart in 20 minutes. Probably would have been less than that, but I got some munchies also. I got some snacks, I'll put it that way.
Okay, I can't believe he said he got some snacks. Sorry, guys. I just a little humor in the end because I can't believe he said that. But, you know, this video was from January of 2024. So we know that Sebastian went missing February 26th, 25th, 26th, 2024. Last time we saw him was when he was getting in his mother's car at the Texas Roadhouse. And then we don't know because it's too hard to see. She parked in her driveway. I can't believe it, YouTuber, that he said snacks at the end. It was funny. Definitely go check that guy's video out, though. Double whammy. Again, if you're getting out of an abusive relationship, you know, definitely consider doing something like that because it is obviously so easy to get around, right? Have cash on hand. Don't give your personal information. Have them activate it for you, and then voila. You know, in this case, there was a bunch of things that kind of really stood out to me. You know, that you can go to Walmart in 20 minutes, right? Unless you get snacks. But $19.95 for the phone, you know, because you're going to throw it away, right? Like, I'm thinking that any phones that were used were probably, you know, discarded somewhere. Obviously, Katie would have been caught on camera if she would have thrown anything away. I would say, I mean, unless it was in the middle of the night. Now, I don't know about the cameras from across the way from her, right? I'm not sure about that. If they were able to catch anything, because we would think that, you know, Katie would want to discard anything she could prior to the trash being picked up, right? Because that is one thing that I feel like might have been, in my opinion, something that was premeditated was, you know, the trash being taken out. That was Monday was trash morning, that it would be taken out at 5 before she called to report Sebastian missing. Hey, Babs, good to see you. Yeah, you can. Yeah, absolutely. You can purchase burner phones at some of the convenience stores too. Absolutely. And, you know, I just thought it was really interesting that, you know, having them activate it, hey, C. Taylor, would, you know, kind of alleviate any, you know, it coming back to you at all. Like, it wouldn't come back to you at all if you didn't, you know, put your name or your email and you just gave a random area code. That was a big thing about giving a random area code. So have one in mind. You know, you don't want to be fumbling around for one that person asks you, right? Especially if you're trying to get out of an abusive situation. As I said, we can use this technology for good, or we could use this technology for bad. In my opinion, and what we're talking about here, it would have been used for a bad purpose, a nefarious reason, of course. But, you know, I mean, 6 minutes to activate, and then 20 minutes total in the store, $43, a $50 bill, you're out of there, right? So really powerful. And, you know, of course, it makes me wonder, you know. Yeah, I mean, this is a great question. Little Miss Sharon says, if they did buy burner phones, where did they buy them, or where did they buy them from, and when? You know, I'm thinking it could have been really any time. It just depends, because you can add minutes to this, right? So they could have bought these burner phones, say, a year ago, and then they only put minutes on them recently, right? But it would all have to be cash. So if it was me, I would want to do this all in one swoop like this guy did, right? Where I would buy everything up and then I would give them the cash, right? Because then you can hold on to it. The minutes aren't going to expire. You have those minutes on there, right? And you can kind of pick and choose which phones you want. Like this guy just picked a flip phone, the cheapest one. They could have been using it for communications for a long time, and it would never go back to them if they did it this way. So say Chris goes and buys one like this, Katie goes and buys one like this. Anybody that was involved could have done this, and they could have been talking, back and forth on these. So, but of course, the more times they go in and purchase this, it's all on camera. The problem that I have is they didn't even go back and interview the people at the Texas Roadhouse, to my knowledge, right? And they're not, they even said they didn't worry about Green Hoodie at all. And Katie had direct interaction with Green Hoodie. Same thing with Yellow Jacket. It could be nothing, but don't you want to check to see if it's something? And it's maddening to me. And then, of course, like I said, I just think about all of their actions, the way that they have acted throughout this whole entire investigation. It's odd to me. Yeah, it is interesting too, Sasha. Yeah. This guy was pretty funny. What he was doing, he was buying a phone for his daughter. And GA64 says the geofencing should have caught odd phone activity, right? I think so. Based on what I've learned about the geofencing, which is not, a terribly lot of information, but I learned quite a bit. It's very much like the cell tower. What it does is just reroutes what's coming or what's being brought to the cell tower onto the geofencing technology, which is like typically a stingray. So it pulls everybody's information in from a generalized area, the fenced area. So, and you can specify, what area you want to pull the data in from too. But of course it works like a cell tower. So just pulling all of that information over, it would find foreign people and it would find whoever was supposed to be in the area, right? So it would pull in that entire neighborhood, say Victoria Place, and it would say who all was in the area, right? And of course, I don't know how exactly they did the geofencing, what specifications, what technology they used, anything like that. But I do think it's interesting that they used it, because that would really tell them a lot, like you said, if there was a foreign anything in the area, right? But again, with these burner phones, they could have said, oh, I see a 708 area code, right? Oh, that's a Chicago area code. Okay, well, that could have been so, but then, in the same regard, if they threw that phone away, then they wouldn't be able to find out who it really belonged to, because it's not associated with anybody in particular. So that's where it's like a little bit scary, because, oh yeah, it's in that area, but they're never going to find out who the phone belongs to. It's a burner phone, in my opinion. Now, if you guys have other knowledge too, let me know, because I'm interested to hear what you all have to say about it. And then even when it comes to the other means of communication. Now, I was watching a live that Justin did. It's really, really good. And he was talking about those phone numbers that you get from the internet, right? So it's like VoIPS or VIOPS or something like that. But it's just basically like a Google number. And I've had them too with real estate, because sometimes you don't want like everybody to have your phone number, right? So you'll just get one of those little Google Voice numbers and it'll route it to you. And so you can put that out instead of your phone number, right? But and those work well with others too. Like I was thinking about getting one for the channel, and then you guys could call in or something like that. But it's still in the works. Carla says, true, the stores have cameras, but they would have to know approximately the date bought as well. Yeah, it would take forever to view every day's footage. Exactly, Carla. They would have to know when this all occurred, right? And you can buy, a bunch of minutes at a time, and then, just use them sparingly or ration the minutes. So, I mean, and another thing too is that you could, buy those cards as well, like money cards and things like that. So, of course, I go down that rabbit hole too. But I mean, it's just purely speculative. Obviously, I don't know. Um, but when there's no proof, that's when you start looking at other avenues, right? Like, how could they have hidden some proof? How could there be no evidence, right? No evidence is still evidence, in our opinion here at Lady Freedoms, right? That's just, I really feel that way. Little Miss Sharon says any proof properly went with the dirty socks when they went to Alaska, in my opinion. That's funny you say that too. I think that's really well said, Little Miss Sharon, because even we were talking about that earlier on MMO Tarot, and we were talking, and Jen was on Astrology for Mystics was on there, and I also shared that earlier. And Jen was talking about the Alaska connection, and I feel like that maybe, and I'm so bad, I don't understand all the charts and stuff, but I'm thinking, well, that could maybe be the connection, so, because you're right, I think that they're not going to be disposing of evidence in one spot, right? Because obviously they're trying to throw everyone off. So the fact that there is no evidence, right? We're to believe this, which I don't know if I do all the way. Obviously, I'm being a little bit of a smart ass there, but if there's no evidence, then let's find some, right? Because there's got to be, that's evidence as well. And who knows? They could have done that. Absolutely. And they could have, and like I said, they could have disposed of some evidence even early on, because we still don't know what they were looking for at the landfill, right? When they looked. We're still not 100% about that either. Oh, I'm so sorry, Babs. I didn't know you were down for a couple of days. My goodness. It's been so humid here, and that's why I'm just embracing like this whole, situation that's going on up here, because it's so humid, and like I was getting all stuffy yesterday and the day before, but I know it's because of the humidity. Like, I'm not sick or anything. It's just, it's so humid. I have to get a dehumidifier, I guess, for the summer, because it's just like, even I bought bread and it's like getting like wet in there, and I was putting, it's weird. It's very humid here, extremely humid. But yeah, I had to put like the paper towels in there to kind of get some of it up. YouTuber says, remember CW was banned from Walmart for life because she went ballistic over their staff not helping her with the phone. No, I did not know that. Oh my goodness. Well, and like he said that you're going to have to really like do some prompting to get them to do it. Like, no, I really need you to, activate it for me. That's hilarious. I did not know that. Scranton Strangler, good to see ya. Scranton, we were watching, I did a review on Mob Crew, and it was funny because he used the skit from The Office in there. Yeah, do it with cash and leave no paper trail. Exactly. Except for a receipt, I mean, and people have kept their receipts and gotten found out that way, but you'd have to look through their vehicle maybe and try to find them first, but absolutely, Michelle, as long as you just throw that receipt away or tell the clerk that you don't need it, and they'll throw it away and it'll be taken away with their trash. I mean, it's very simple. Especially if you're trying really hard not to get caught and you were really thinking it out, right? Because this would be a really, really easy way to just use direct communication that is private, right? I mean, obviously the cell towers and everything. But again, to check those back, you would also need to have specific times and dates, and law enforcement can't just, go off and grab all that. I mean, maybe they are doing that, but I don't know. Bab says Ellie isn't even searching for Sebastian. Do you think Ellie is in Sumner County Sheriff's Department is going to take the time to search if burner phones? Yeah, and where they were purchased from? Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. They might not even have thought about that until way after the fact, because obviously they were operating under the assumption that Sebastian walked off. They were taking the Proudfoot's word for it, in my opinion, no paper trails, SI officer. And that's what you're avoiding big time. And then on top of it, you're avoiding your whole identity if you get it activated through the store. Again, this video is from January of 2024, right before Sebastian went missing. So it was definitely possible in every way, shape, or form for this to have happened. This guy says he does it all the time, and he recommends it to survivors of, DV. So, and I would recommend it highly to anybody that is trying to get out of a relationship like that, because you can, keep in communication with people very easily. Or if you think something horrible is happening to you at that moment, you can get to your phone and you could text it to somebody and let them know that you need the police at your house right now, because you don't know whether you're going to make it. Seriously, it's really important. And then he would never know about it, or she would never know about it. Ooh, Grandis was adding minutes to her phone, 6:15:21 allegedly. Really, forget me not. Grandis is. We haven't really analyzed Grandis too much on this channel, but we will. Yeah, and it's tough. It's it's tough. I don't want to say like, oh, law enforcement's not doing their job. They don't care. They're a bunch of jerks. Like, I don't want to say that. I'm not trying to get up here every night and say that stuff, because honestly, I think that a lot of them do want Sebastian to be found. I saw a law enforcement officer, at the vigil, giving Seth a hug. They're showing his support. I don't want to hate on them too bad, but gee whiz, it's like, what were you guys doing? Yeah. You found 9 phones, Sasha? Oh my gosh. No kidding. All under her name that go back to her? Oh, Andrea, that's what I ask all the time. Where on earth is Sebastian? Where could he be? Because even though I think I know how he made it out of the house, allegedly, in my opinion, where is he? They also need to look into hazmat suits, etc. I agree, SI officer. I hope they do, Jen. I really do. Jen says, in my opinion, no, I don't think so. I hope they do. Yeah, it's just tough. Nobody wants to think, hey Kiki, no, nobody wants any of this. We don't want to think this way. Trust me, it's not the best, things to be rolling around someone's brain all the time, but Sebastian needs somebody to think about these things, because it doesn't seem like they are. Maybe they are. I don't know. Forget me. YouTuber says forget me not. Yes, I think that was a traceable type of phone Grandis had. Yeah, and see, that's odd too, because they all did. According to Hunter, he was looking into Candace's phone, and he had a phone, and they were doing TikToks. And oh, thank you for being here, Kiki. No worries. I'm glad you're here. Girl, Kiki says it's been a hard day. I know. It's been a hard couple of days. It's like, ugh. Well, and it's so darn hot. I know it's got to be hot in Tennessee right now. I know it's got to be stifling hot, like it is here, humid probably. 9 phone numbers. KP, maybe she does use a burner generating all those numbers. Dang, 9 numbers. That's crazy, Sasha. And, that's the thing too. You can generate a bunch of those numbers. Like, I don't think there's a limit. I've never tried to do a whole bunch of numbers before. Obviously, I would just only need one to share for real estate. So, I never tried multiple numbers, but I don't think that there is a cap off on how many that you can get. Just saying. Bab says Ellie isn't even anywhere near searching for burner phone purchases. All they care about now is that the attention isn't been being paid to the case now. Yeah, now they let it die. Shame on Sumner County Sheriff's Department. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that they want us to shut up about it for sure. I do. And I don't know what's it to them besides, they're going to have more public pressure, right? Because the more people that apply that public pressure, the more people that are talking about it. Yeah. And that just shouldn't be the case, Babs. It is a shame. I agree. It's a shame. Kathy says a few years ago, my husband bought one for emergencies, and a couple years later gave it to my granddaughter because she dropped hers and broke it. Yeah, Kathy, they are for like young kids and stuff. I mean, I did that when my daughter, when I was divorced, I got her a phone like that for, first off, and then of course, as she got older, it was like, I need an iPhone, and I was like, okay, I guess we'll get an iPhone. Brenda says, I think I remember that the Foots turned off 2 phones at the beginning of February 2024. Yeah, Brenda, I was thinking about that too, because that was another thing that Justin was talking about in his live, and I didn't get to finish the rest of it because in the beginning he was talking about something really interesting, and I wanted to ask you guys too if you remember this. So in the beginning, there was a post, I believe it was on Facebook. A lot of groups were forming, for Sebastian at that time. And Katie's story to one of the neighbors was that Sebastian was making noises in his room, and she told him, or she asked him, what are you doing in there? And he's like, nothing, Mom, go to bed. Right. And that was like around, I think it was 11:30. I need to go back and watch it. And I should have wrote it down, but I was just kind of listening through. And I thought that was really interesting. And he had the post up and everything. So, but she has changed the story so many times and told different people different things. And, it's just like, what to believe, and probably, it's hard to remember a lie. So yeah, it's something. Well, they did ransack his house, Holly. Yes. Yeah, they did. They pulled up his mattress, Sebastian's mattress in his room, and all that. Like, what the heck is that about? I mean, I know kids put stuff under their mattress and stuff. I guess. I mean, people do that. But I would have liked to have seen that in the place where Sebastian went missing from. Not, he wasn't at his dad's house for what, a week at that point. Because he had been there the weekend prior, in my opinion. SI officer says, Babs, their lack of investigating, in my opinion, is selectively purposeful. Yeah, I mean, and that's what it seems like, right? I mean, it's like, I don't know any other way to understand it, especially because they've been just so silent, Hindsight says geofencing can capture burner phones if they're active and transmitting location data, but I always say this, anonymity make it harder to identify or track them effectively. Yeah, and that's the thing, hindsight, I was like, wow, and it made me think about this video, made me think about your video that you put out about how it works with, any type of phone can be turned into a burner phone as well. So you won't even have to go buy it necessarily like that. You just would have to, have the old phone and reactivate it, which is, again, like, that could have possibly happened, in my opinion. It very well could have. Yeah, maybe we can find out. See, and I don't know specifically, and I didn't get to the point in Justin's live just yet to get to, kind of what his findings were. But Kiki says maybe we could find out when the phone was purchased or hooked up. I mean, like I said, though, I'm thinking if it was me and I was trying to be sneaky, right? I would have said, oh, I don't need a receipt, because that can link you back, right? Even if you pay cash, if that receipt is found in your vehicle after the fact, in your glove box or in the floorboard or whatever, and then, boom, you're caught, So they had to have gotten rid of everything, at that point. And again, you have a lot of these smart videos out here that, excuse me, people are very savvy, and they talk about ways to kind of get around the system, right? Which can be used, again, in a good way or a bad way. But, for this purpose, I see it happening. Sasha says, I looked up info on everything I could find in regards to this potential perp. And she had many she had many phone numbers, multiple addresses, and lots of roommates, so it begs the question, who? Well, Sasha, and that's the thing that Jen kind of put in perspective for me today. Like, again, these people are from the Navy, and Navy travel all over the place, right? And they know all kinds of people from all over the place. And so, yeah, roommates, that would be another potential aspect to look at. I know, Babs, it's so frustrating. I get so frustrated with that. Yeah, we just want some movement. Cinderella, I agree. We're getting antsy, we're getting a little impatient with this because it's been too long. And come on. Like I said, if all of us can figure this out, how come they can't? That's what's really ticking me off. I mean, I'm like going, I know you think I'm an asshole junior detective over here, but shit. Holly S says, in my opinion, some of them may have been investigated for their own curiosity. Well, I'm also wondering if they're, what kind of dirt they have on each other that they're not talking, not speaking up when it's a kid who's missing. I want to know when and where the memorial bench silvers one found. Oh. I didn't hear about that, Scranton. They found the burgers in Lori Daybell's case, says Loretto. Trent says there's a loophole with Google Voice where if you don't pick a number, it shows up as all zeros on the caller ID, but you can receive calls if you do that. Oh, but you can't receive calls. Oh, okay. I see. That's interesting. See, I've never tried to not pick a number before. Yeah, because I've set one up before, and I know there's several ways of doing it. Astrology for Mystics with Jen, that's a good point. We are dealing with intellectual ex-military trained in communications, Secret Service, or Marshal Service. Even then, I'm not sure. We need a code breaker for sure when it comes to the communications. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Jen. And, it would take somebody with that expertise and that level of training and experience. Absolutely. And I mean, that's what we're up against. I just wish I had more faith in law enforcement, and maybe they'll come out and they'll be like, hey, bam, Lady Freedom, this is what we've been doing behind the scenes. Now shut your mouth. And I'd be like, yes, I will. You know what I mean? But I don't see that happening. I agree with that, Babs. And see, that's where I get stuck in the, I get stuck. Babs says, if, and a big if Sumner County Sheriff's Department cared, gave half of a damn, this would be solved already, and they don't care and are being paid off not to care. Weak, pitiful idiots at Sumner County Sheriff's Department and TBI, in my opinion. And I think that too. I do think that, and I wish that I didn't. I'll just put it that way. I think that too, and I wish that I didn't. And I wish I could be like, no, Babs, you're in timeout for that. But honestly, give me a reason not to think that. Hey, Baba Rose, good to see you. I just, give me a reason. The friend Lori, Holly S, that's another thing too with the friend Lori. I was talking to someone earlier, a friend of mine, about the friend Lori, and what was Lori's purpose there? Because we obviously know this weekend was full. In my opinion, Chris was probably in the area. In my opinion, why was Lori there? Was Lori there as part of all of this, or was Lori there as moral support for Katie? Because it's not lost on me that if something really bad happened, that Katie, might be, scared, or it would cause her fear to go along with this, like she has, in my opinion. Yeah. Well, Nicole, I thank you for being here. That's not lost on me. It's not. I just really have a hard time, thinking about that. I do, because I don't want to think the worst, even though I do think the worst sometimes. But it would be extremely difficult unless there were more involved to pull all of this off, in my opinion. Now, the more people that you have involved, the more people know about it, the more likely you are to get caught doing something, right? Because somebody might break. GA64 says, CPU was very concerned about whatever the geofencing caught about his truck. Yeah, to hindsight. Yeah. Thank you, hindsight. I mean, he was absolutely upset. And I think other people were a little bit upset maybe to hear that. And some of the things that they were told was going to come out. But then all of a sudden it was like everybody swooped in. Oh no, you can't tell, can't tell. Don't talk about that truck. So, in my opinion, this had been planned for a long time. Yeah, it would have to be Holly S, in my opinion, because it happened in a very short amount of time. So it had to have been absolutely, a mission carried out, in my opinion. Hey, Hunting Hope, good to see you. Yeah, Kiki says very well planned out, in my opinion. Kiki, you don't feel good? I'm sorry, I must have missed something there. I saw Lori's comment. Oh, I hope you feel better soon. Nicole says it absolutely was planned out for a while. I agree. Yeah, it would have had to have been. And that's in my opinion, because a lot of things went smoothly. but there were just certain things that I think were missed, and one of them is shoes. I haven't really been secretive about that. I think that was one big mistake that they made, was the shoes. Yeah, YouTuber says mention that about CW, but it may have been a burner phone. Yeah, I mean, and two, they could have somebody go buy it for them as well, um, with cash, and then do the same kind of process, which would make it even more anonymous. Thank you, Jen. Yeah, it would make it even more anonymous then if they did it that way. So, I mean, there's a couple of different ways they could have done it. Mama Socks could have given, somebody money to do it for her, in my opinion. Yeah, Mob Crew's on point. I like Mob Crew. Chris is great. He works really hard at what he does, I mean, yeah. And see, that's why I don't think they did it like recently. That's what makes me think they wouldn't have done it recently, Kiki, because you're right. But there's always a digital trail, in my opinion, even on registers. Everything's high tech nowadays. Yeah. And I mean, they could have done multiple burners too. And here's the thing, they're so cheap, they're $20 a pop. So you go and get, a crappy little, flip phone. You can text on that. You can call on that. And they could have been doing stuff like that, buying up, minutes. And then once those minutes are done, then you throw it away, you buy a new one. All cash though. And setting them all up. And of course, I'm sure it would turn the heads of anybody if you come in and you say, hey, I want 8 burner phones, all of them different area codes, da 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 da. Obviously, I'm not insinuating that this would have been done, all at once either, because you would have to, again, smart everybody and, play it really slick on that if you were going to carry all of this out, right? Meaning go in there to give a random code, no email, blah, blah, blah. Even 2 phones might look suspicious to, somebody. And, I think that they're probably, Walmart employees probably are kind of trained in some of that kind of stuff to kind of look out for things like that, in my opinion. Linda Hall says a heck of a time to throw a service alert on me. If I disappear again, it's because of another service alert. Oh no. Well, Linda, I hope that you're all right with that. I just wish they would be arrested already. I know, Nicole. I think that's what's hard about everything too, is because, a lot of people, myself included, think that the CPS records and Sebastian's counseling records would be enough to at least make some sort of an arrest. But then again, I do think about it like if they're building a case, then they might be waiting for that, and I do say that really lightly. Because I mean, we haven't seen action. That's the problem. We haven't seen action. And then we see Chris, just doing his own thing. Chris and Katie living their best lives, in my opinion. Well, maybe the receipt they're looking for is at the landfill. Yeah. I mean, I just feel like they would have thrown away a minimum of items, because of course everyone's going to be looking. Everybody's going to be looking at the cameras, but if you couldn't see Sebastian taking the trash out, then who's to say that you could see Katie going out and throwing something in the trash bin? I mean, that's my way of thinking anyway. But I mean, we have to think about all angles. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Yeah, even if it's an old phone and then activated. Yeah, Kiki, I mean, because if you think about it, they're just gonna throw it away. So I mean, say they used, old phones to begin with. They could have done that. But yeah, and then also just thinking about like the different SIM cards you could use. And again, I mean, if they're not looking back far enough, then they would miss that, you know. Yeah, us all in here telling criminals the proper ways to get away with wrong. SI officer, it's terrible. Well, I mean, you know, and I was almost hesitant to show that video, but I also thought it was cool because, you know, you could use it for good too. But I hear you, you know, I hear you. No paper trail, no scent trail. I know. Well, and that's because I think that in my opinion, I think that Sebastian was carried. You know, I think he was carried out. You know, I'm not 100% on the condition he was carried out in, but, you know, that's my opinion, you know. Hey, TN nurse, good to see you. Aw, thanks for being here, Laura Arnold. I appreciate you. I know I'm a little bit behind in chat. Hey, Kylie's Nail Candy, good to see you. Lady, I say that about Craddock's office. Who knows, the man crying could be very good actor, like a lot of women who shed crocodile tears and hide the grin on their faces. Yeah, no, I totally get that, Carla. It's hard to kind of trust anything anyone surrounding the case says, you know. It really is. It's tough because we haven't heard, you know, the same story quite told by everybody. And then you have neighbors that are coming out, you know. And I believe Justin's live was like 4 months in, I think he said. I think he said at one point in the live, you know, this is 4 months ago and everything. Scranton's had her cell phone for a long time. She says, hey, Brendan. Hey, Brenda. Brenda says, in my opinion, I think he's with Katie's mom. You know, they said they checked with Katie's mom, and I don't know. Adam Trevor 21, good to see you. Yeah, I don't know. Good. Hey, Hope Floats, nice to see you. Yeah, it could have been a raincoat too. I agree. TN Nurse, yeah. TN Nurse says I try to back the blue and defend them, but they are making it awfully hard for me lately. And I told them this, not that they care what I think, but no, I understand that, TN Nurse, you know, and I try not to, you know, because I understand I have this platform and I don't want to use it for that. You know what I'm saying? I don't. But if I see that there's something there, I can't unsee it, and then I can't act like you know, I can't lie to you guys and say, well, I think they're doing a great job, because you guys would be throwing well, rightfully so, you'd be throwing tomatoes at me, you know, because, I mean, that's ridiculous in my opinion. Yeah, it was around 10 p.m., Nicole. It was. So it was around 10 p.m. and Katie tells the story right over and over and over again. Chris wants it to be crystal clear. Sorry, Seth, if you're watching. He does. He wants it to be crystal clear about this. And, you know, whoa, before you get it wrong, he tells Duchess, you know, basically. And he says, look, you know, we were doing this. We were on the phone, you know, Katie heard a noise, you know, and they tell us about these noises. And then Nancy Grace, it's a thud. But before all this, Katie tells the neighbor when she comes out to look for Sebastian that she did hear a noise in his room around like 11:30 or something like that, 11. And he told her, nothing, Mom, go to bed. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I saw the kid at the Texas Roadhouse. He didn't look like he was telling his mom nothing. Like, he listened to his mom because he's a good kid. He didn't need that darn school, in my opinion. Ann Reynolds, good to see you. You know, just because Chris believes her crap and vice versa doesn't mean we all believe their stories. Yeah, and that's the thing, Kylie's Nail Candy. That's the truth. I mean, I can't possibly believe it when there's so many different stories. I mean, why would you tell your neighbor that? You know what I mean? Like, because you probably didn't think your neighbor was going to do, a post about it, right? Later on, 4 months later, whenever the post was. But people were worried about Sebastian. People are worried about Sebastian, and they're coming out and saying these things because it's like, I'm sure they're watching whatever, interview they're watching of Katie and being like, wait a minute, that's not what she told me. That's the first thing I would do. I would call my local news station, but then again, there's been threats left and right, threats coming from, in my opinion, the Proud Feet from the very beginning. Following searchers, but not searching themselves. And no, I don't think they were going out there doing that themselves. I think they had people doing it for them. Good night, Jen. Thank you for being here. I know that I keep you up too late. Thank you for being here. Michelle says, if there was a bed in the garage, could they have swapped them out just to save them from finding evidence? Well, I think so. And, there was also the mattress pad that was found behind Worsham's. I think they were disposing of evidence. Yeah. I do. And I don't think it's crazy to think that they could have been getting rid of some of the abuse evidence very close to when this happened, right? So I don't know if Seth has seen his phone or not, Kylie's Nail Candy. I'm not sure. Brenda says, when Seth said that, I thought they were looking for blood evidence, in my opinion. I'm sorry, I must have missed something, Brenda. Like when they went to his house, to Seth's house to search. Gab says Ellie ransacked Seth's house because of what KP and CP told LE. There were no reasons to do so, and Seth had nothing to hide. The PF family has everything to hide and has been all of their lives. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I always go back to what Nina said, and it really fits in with what we're seeing here, right? Where it's like a family affair. Everyone comes out to help out with the dirty deeds, in my opinion, that's dirty. You don't do that to somebody. You definitely don't do that to somebody who is the mother of your grandchild, niece, nephew, whatever, a family member. You do not do that to somebody. What, just because Chrissy is upset with them? Let him be upset. Maybe he'll develop a better personality for it. I mean, he's sick, in my opinion. C. Taylor says that was so hard to hear for how LE seemed to have treated them so differently. Yeah, absolutely, C. Taylor. Yeah, I mean, and I agree with Babs. I think that they were telling law enforcement what they wanted to tell law enforcement, and law enforcement was believing them, and they were even calling them the parents, and then we're like, oh my gosh, he's got a father, right? Because they were talking about Seth in any of the interviews, right? And in a good light, until they weren't, until they wanted to throw him under the bus because they knew that they had no alibi, Tia Nurse says, I think this began back when they first started looking for placements for him, and as their ideas were shut down, the thoughts heightened, then the CPS safety plan, and then the ultimatum, all in my opinion. I can see that definitely playing out just like that, Tia Nurse. And that's a lot of what I think about my snowball theory, right? That is just kind of like everything on top of each other and just keeps on, gaining, more and more snow, if for lack of a better way to say it, because people would say, like, how come they didn't just let him go to his dad's like they were supposed to, right? Because why didn't they just wait a little bit longer? But the CPS element that is introduced into this is, in my opinion, the catalyst for what was to come, right? Because you can't have this on Chris's record, right? when it comes to him getting custody of Faith. And by the way, I really don't think that he would be a fit candidate. I think that was already kind of, but it doesn't matter. He's going to still kind of drag Nina back and forth to court and drag her through the mud, because that's what a narcissist does. They use the court system to their advantage, unfortunately. Well, Kylie, I wish they would have used luminol, and they did not. You know, I mean, that's the thing. It seems that they didn't take any type of evidence from the home. In my opinion, they didn't treat it like a crime scene, because they were treating it like Sebastian just walked off, right? But in my opinion, being that I'm not a law enforcement officer, I've never taken a single criminology course in my life. If I see a house that has nothing tampered with in any way, shape, or form on the outside, that all of the doors were locked from the inside, the windows were locked from the inside, that is going to tell me that that child did not walk out of the house by himself. When I hear that the child was not wearing any footwear, that to me tells me that that child would not have made it very far if he did magically make it out of the house somehow without being detected. I mean, again, walk down the street without any shoes on. See how far you get, in my opinion. Because I'm barefoot all the time, but that doesn't mean I'm be walking down the street that way. You know, I mean, hey, Seclusion Works, of course you can speak on that. Oh, guess what, Seclusion Works? I have this for you tonight. I was waiting until you came in. This is what I was telling you about, this military style flashlight. Yeah, so it's got like all kinds of stuff. It's like, whoop. See why I don't play with this stuff? But it's got like these things on it, you know, that you could switch out and put in here. I don't know very much about it, but this was what we were talking about the other night. Either way. And then I saw Nate bring it out. I was like, hey, I need that. So, boop. Just like, I think his uncle in the Marines, I hope I don't say it wrong. He says I was going to get in trouble if I said it the wrong way. Like, you know, I think he said Marines. Oh, yeah, that's right. He said he went to go to the Army, but they were out to lunch. He said the Marines don't go out to lunch. That's the story. But either way, I was like, when Seclusion Works, I have it right by me when she comes in. Scranton says, did we ever find out what happened with E. Craddock and his request for a raise? No, I have not. But I would imagine people were like, oh, hell no. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never heard anything back about it, about the raise, like whether he got it or didn't or anything. I know people were pretty ticked off about it. I certainly was. I was like, you can get that raise when you find Sebastian. Or maybe when you do a press conference and act like you care about all these crazy ass rumors and crap going around in this case, because that's not helping. And you said it yourself, you know. SI officer says, yeah, I agree. Not his first rodeo. And in my opinion, they're all involved. So why would they speak up? Yeah. And that's the thing too. It depends on who all's involved. Yeah. And I mean, especially if they're if it's all family, nobody's going to roll on their family unless they're in a situation where they can't get out of it, right? Like you're being heavily interrogated, and you know, I'm not talking about like crazy torture stuff either, you know. Like I'm not talking about like the movie Casino or anything like that. I'm just talking about if, you know, you got the heat of the police on you and you're like, they're asking you questions and they're not letting you just say, oh, he just walked off, no big deal. Like if they're actually pressing you for information, like we think maybe they should be. Good evening, momming it up. Good to see you. But Seclusion Work says on the burner phone issue, there is a way to use the older model dating from 2000 onwards that cell phone towers cannot track reliably. Oh, that's interesting. Seclusion works. Okay. So it'd be something prior to 2000 that can't track reliably. Is it because the technology, because of the older technology? Is that why? Oh, I need to see Maman's video. Maman, I didn't see your video. Ugh, I can't watch that one TN nurse. It's not that I don't respect what people do on here. I just, oh, it's hard. I don't know. It's hard. They would also need to look into marketplace purchases, etc., sales, etc., just every angle. That's true, SI officer, you know, and that's kind of what we would expect for them to do, right? Is like follow these trails, right? Follow the leads, especially if there's only one case that, you know, that's, or excuse me, one detective that's working the case. You would think that detective would look at every angle, you know, because that's all you're doing for your 8-hour day or whatever, 12. I don't know how many hours he works. Yeah. Yeah. But and the thing is too, Kathy, is, you know, some of them are like that. And you could always add minutes on. I would just think it would be smart if you were going to do this is to do it one time, order as many minutes as you possibly can, pay with cash, and then, you know, use it up as much as you can, throw it in the trash, you know, rinse, repeat, whatever. Sasha says, I'm convinced CP was there and I don't think he would miss it for the world. They acted like they just completed a mission and were invigorated, in my opinion. Well, and that's the thing. It would have to have been like a mission like that, right? Just carried out just so. And everybody had their spots and what they needed to do, in my opinion. You know, and I mean, Katie was the only one in the house and we see the light source go and then come back, right? So, okay, thanks. Seclusion Work says the tech was not quite there, so you'll find, say, a cell from 2007. Okay, so if they were to have older communications, now you never know. I mean, sometimes you would keep that. I guess I had one that, but I couldn't find the charger for it. But I think I kept it because of the pictures, because I didn't have them downloaded anywhere except for to that phone. So Carla says, I don't know how the phone would set up with a Google account. That's the start of that's the start of setting up every phone I've had. I had burner numbers in the past, or burner phones in the past. Yeah, and I mean, it's just so easy. It's just so easy. Well, and you know, we were talking about that too. Seclusion Works says also they could have used short range radios. Yeah, and I mean, it's just kind of anything to evade that night, because I think that they would have probably gotten rid of the burners, maybe even with the trash that night. So anything, what I'm trying to say is that I don't believe that it was Sebastian who took out the trash. I could be wrong, but I think it would fit in that whoever did take the trash out would have thrown away everything they needed to throw out, because the trash, you know, was going to be picked up that morning at 5 before any of this would have been known by anyone, right? So if it was me doing it, right, and I'm not saying anybody did this, and it's all alleged in my opinion, but if it was me doing this and I'm trying to get rid of everything, I'm going to do that at that point, right? Because at that point, whatever was going to happen, in my opinion, is going to happen, right? In terms of, in my opinion, someone carrying Sebastian out at 3 a.m. or in the middle of the night, in my opinion. So they could have used for this last bit a radio frequency unknown to somebody, or, you know, trying to conceal what they're doing, in terms of it not, you know, pinging off a cell tower, or that sort of thing. That's just kind of where my brain's at. But Scranton, that's such a good point. How is a small town sheriff affording multiple houses? Tell me he isn't getting favors from friends in real estate. Yeah. I mean, that's another thing to think about, Scranton. And, you know, people might say, well, you know, his wife works and he works, and, you know, and they've invested and they've done really great, and, you know, everything. But I don't know. I think the buck stops at the DA's office too, Brenda. And, you know, I was like, holy cow, when he decided, oh, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and duck out, you know. And I get he's an older man. I get it. But in the same way, he said that he was going to, you know, bring justice, and we haven't seen that. He told Nick Barris he's going to bring justice. Tia Nurse says, remember when he said something about leaving Nashville, and we just thought he said Nashville meaning Hendersonville. We think he brought a camper to Nashville, and we got it from her reading. Oh, okay, so a camper. Oh, I see. Well, I'm curious about the campers too, because I know that there seems to have been a switcheroo at some point, perhaps. And, you know, what was it, 17 and a half hours or something like that it took him to go and get. Again, it would be really ballsy. It would be really ballsy if they did anything after the fact. Banana phone, Sammy. Good to have you, Sammy. But, you know, I just think it would be really ballsy for them to do anything after the fact. Then again, you know, they might have thought that they had the police at bay, which I would too, if you know, Craddock's going on the news being like, oh, I feel so bad for these parents. I can't imagine what they're going through. You know, I would have been like, cha-ching. You know, he's buying it. Look at him. He's buying it. You know, I mean, it would be great. I would be sitting there thinking, they don't suspect us at all. Doesn't have relatives in the area. I'm not sure, C. Taylor. Sorry, I'm just going to keep going. Scroll down. What do you disagree on, Seclusion? A successful conspiracy involves 5 or less people. Yeah, I know. I mean, I was thinking it was actually 4 or 5, but then I started realizing that there could be more. And I'm not talking about direct involvement either. It could be guilty knowledge of some sort, you know, and that's where I do think, because look, you know, you have Melissa Proudfoot coming out and saying that they were searching at 6:30 in the morning. You know, do I think that Melissa Proudfoot was directly involved? Maybe, maybe not. But I mean, I think it's odd that the police weren't even called yet, and she said that they were all out there searching. Where's the proof of them searching? Where was she searching? You know, we don't hear that. You know, and I do think she's mean enough. I mean, in my opinion, from what I saw at the birthday party, you know. Ooh. I know. I haven't listened to that just yet, Sammy. And, you know, I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying, you know, that people are wrong on that, but, you know. You know what, though, Babs? Babs says, good Lord, Chris can't control himself, much less plan something like this. He's an idiot who does that. What women tell him to do. Well, I mean, I agree. I have to agree with that in a certain extent, but I do think that, you know, I do think Chris, is going to go along with it. And I will say that in certain ways he's trained, and I think he's smart in certain ways. But I do agree with the idiot comment. And I only say that because, I mean, even just like some of the things that have come out of his mouth, he's not slick, right? I mean, you could just tell. And neither is Katie, but they are, in my opinion, cunning and sneaky. And I think if they had been planning this as for a while, they could have probably pulled off a mission, much like what they've done in the military. But I do think I do see the idiot factors. I mean, look at them in the first interview. Katie with the I can't even do it with the flies. Ooh, and then Chris. I mean, it was like, who are these? What are we dealing with here? And I thought they were dumb as a box of rocks at first, but now we're this far into it, and I'm like, well, they're at least charm the pants off the law enforcement. Sammy G says could have been bought in some convenience store in Memphis, like the kind that doesn't card for cigarettes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, and if you have someone else set it up for you like that and they do it right there at the store, I mean, that was really what caught my attention big time. Sorry guys, and I'm really behind in chat, so my apologies here. And welcome into everybody. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you all being here. Oh, there's so much. There's just so much, Kylie. There is. And I want to keep hope alive as well. I don't want it to be something where no, Green Hoodie didn't pass on. Hi, Kai Kai. Thank you for saying that. Well, some people said that it does look like Chris Carr's the neighbor boy, but I don't know. I mean, it resembles. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And that's the thing. I hate to speculate like as to one thing or another on the type of the different ways of sedating somebody or something like that, because I just don't know if there's a lot of proof to that, right? I mean, it's just like if Sebastian was over medicated or something. I just don't see a lot of proof to that. And that's why it's difficult, for me to do that. Yeah, well, the Cajun Navy came out and said they were threatened. Kiki would love to hear from the company that was searching Cajun Navy of who was threatening. Yeah, well, they said that they even told law enforcement, and then Eric Craddock said, no, I've never heard that. No one was reported that to me. Hey, Valley Gal. Well, they did turn the mattresses over, any of the ones that they found, Everything, as far as I know, anything that was found by searchers, hey, Robini, has been, given over, because nobody's, hiding any of this stuff, I don't think. I mean, and I think people are frustrated when they turn things over and they don't hear about what happened next, That's odd, too. Not that I expect them to, but I mean, especially a local. If a local turns something in, you would think they would at least assure the local person, like, hey, thank you so much, for busting your ass out there and, doing what we're not doing by actually physically searching. And, you would think you would at least, reach back out to that person as a courtesy. But, again, I'm not a law enforcement officer. I don't know how they're supposed to act, Oh gosh, yes, Cinderella and YouTuber. I mean, poor little Faith. I can't imagine what she must feel like. I really. Oh, Nashville is building an underground tunnel for Ubers to airports. Oh, really? That's interesting. I don't know if they spoke to Green Hoodie either, hindsight. I really, it makes me wonder. Cacti Collector, good to see you. The tech wasn't there. The new phones are encoded with upgrades. Thank you, Seclusion Works. Well, and TN Nurse, I can't, discount, other people's intuitions or anything like that. I really can't, you know. I just know it is hard. It's hard. I don't know. They never did say who the green hoodie is, Same thing with the yellow jacket. Like I said, I mean, you would think they would want to speak with the people that were in close contact with Katie that night. I mean, just as a precautionary. Yeah, that's where I'm at with this Robini. Robini says, I'm not sure I'd trust anything to Tennessee. I'd deliver it to the FBI. You know, I mean, that's what I've been sharing out lately. Cause I mean, why give it to them if they're not going to do anything with it? Yeah, we don't know who Green Hoodie is. And I don't think any of us know. None of us know, you know? Thank you, Cacti Collector. Yeah, well, we're all up to the point too, Sasha, that it's like, if we've been lied to before by law enforcement, then why do we believe them? Carla says, lady, that's why I don't understand how a burner phone won't connect to a person as they have Google accounts that attach to someone. The first one I did, I had to upload. Well, see, that's the thing. If you don't give your email, it won't be attached to any Google, nothing. And if you only strictly use it for texts and calls, then, bada bing, bada boom, there you go. So that's why I was so, surprised by this, I'm like, I didn't know this was possible. Oh, thank you, Kiki, and for your super sticker. And she says, or super chat, I wondered, did Seth see Sebastian's phone after? He did. He said that he saw Sebastian's phone sitting on the counter plugged in, to my knowledge. So when he came into the house that day, he noticed Sebastian's phone sitting on the counter and that all of his shoes were there. And I don't know what they were telling law enforcement prior to him getting there about Sebastian's shoes. They could have told him anything. And then here comes Seth saying all of his shoes are here. And maybe that's why, Craddock didn't know whether to say. Because remember, every time I play the intro, I have Craddock up there saying, I'm not going to say he went barefoot. His mother says all of his shoes are accounted for, but I'm not going to say he went barefoot. So who knows? I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall that day. I would love to have been able to see the body cam footage from that day. I thought we were all going to be able to see what Sebastian's room looked like. The room that he went missing from. Allegedly, in Katie's opinion. But of course, they didn't show that to us. And then we hear that, all Mama wanted to talk about was how Chris was going to bring her on vacation and buy her new jewelry. Was that some sort of currency, in my opinion? Because it really makes me wonder. Because who would be worried about that? Valley Gal, I remember that being out there, that there was something that was going to be served at the house around March 2025. I thought that was something that was pertaining to the legal battle with Bullhorn Betty, I think, if I can remember correctly. Like a subpoena for some information on that is what I was thinking. Yeah, Cinderella allegedly Craddock has 4 properties. Why? Yeah, I'm not sure. It seems like a lot for a sheriff. I will say that. Yeah, I would like to see some receipts on that too. Kiki says would love to see receipts on a camper, date, time, and of purchase and where. Yeah, I would too. I would too. Does anyone remember the approximate date when he got a different fifth wheel? Didn't Mama Socks buy him a new RV and she took over his and drove it up north or northwest? That's what's been alleged, but I haven't found anything that I could really back it up with that's solid, Town Chat. That's the only thing. Because I really do try to, fact check stuff. It's difficult in this case, So of course I like, especially when it comes to something like this with the burner phones and things, that's why it's always alleged, in my opinion. Really, really allegedly, in my opinion, because obviously I can't tell you on this date, Katie went and bought this phone, or Chris did this, or Mama Socks did this, or whatever. I cannot say that. I'm purely speculating on, is this a possibility? And knowing that this guy put this video out January of 2024 saying how easy it is to activate this phone like this. I mean, I just had to kind of put it out with the research that I'm still kind of working on all of this, because again, they could be using, different types of communications at night. And again, with the burner phones. Oh, I didn't see it, Sammy. Oh, you guys didn't see a Crime Time Buzz a week ago or so. They tracked down camper and was sold once or twice. Don't remember the details. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, that could be something to back it up, right? That's interesting. Yeah, and again, these are the things that you would expect. Excuse the hell out of me, but, by law enforcement. Like, it's like they're mad at us for actually looking into this stuff. Yeah, I can't. I'm not buying into the bullshit either, Sasha. Yeah, where's Cassie Proudfoot been? Crickets from a lot of people. Right? They don't want us talking about it. They don't want to talk about it. They want to pretend like none of us are talking about it when we are. Yeah. They all come together, don't they? That's the thing with me too, SI officer, in my opinion. Mrs. and Mr. B, KP, CP, Mel, Cassie, Lori, DB, DG, and DG, a couple of others. Yeah. Yeah, it would take many to pull off what seems to be a well thought out plan, in my opinion. And they all come together in order to wreak havoc. I mean, it's like they like it. They enjoy the vigilante crap. Mama Dub says I always thought third party potential guilty knowledge just based off of what we know, but the interviews panels are why I left iffy. I have percentages of speculative hypotheticals. Yeah, well, and that's kind of what the phone is for me, is a hypothetical, because of course I think that they threw them away. So how is there going to be, I think they threw the receipts away. I think they got rid of it a long time ago, right? And I think that they were operating off of them for a while because, you know, don't forget that Chris was talking about how squeaky clean all of their technology was and how the police complimented him on how squeaky clean it was. Like, talk about bullshit. If they did, then they're right there with them. I mean, come on. Robini says there was a case where a trailer sat outside falling down for years and they went in and stabbed bathroom where original detective noticed files on the ceiling and found victims' blood. Oh, wow. Wow. I mean, the thing is like, there had to have been evidence, you know? Oh, check my email? Okay, well. No, yeah, Brenda, the Uvalde group pulled out of the search. Oh, hold on one second, guys. Sorry about that. I think I was muted there. Oh, that's okay. So this is interesting. Okay, RV source. Okay. Thank you. Okay, I'll definitely check into that. Again, town chat, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Thank you, Holly. Yes, thank you so much. Oh, okay. Okay, Kiki, I'll have to look back. I'm sorry, guys. I have my other phone usually with me in the front, and then I had it. I was using it as an alarm clock because I've been getting kind of crazy sleep here and there. It was so hot the other day. So, Brenda says the Uvalde group pulled out of the searching and documented they were being threatened and even stated they felt as if it was foul play. Yeah, I remember that actually, Brenda. And you know, the thing is that's why people didn't want to get involved. You know, good night, Kiki. Thank you so much for being here. I will talk to you later, girl. Robini, I saw that the girl's cousin had come up missing. Also, his dad took him out. I'm gonna have to look at that case. I can't think of at the top of my head what the case is. Thank you, Detroit Rock City. Welcome in. Welcome in. Thank you so much. Give it to dog. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, whenever I send out information, I'll always send it to dog too, you know. Yes, TN Nurse. It's just my channel name with no apostrophe at gmail.com. Lady, I still don't see how it first thing comes up. You have to enter a Google account. I've tried not to enter and skip that and no email, and it would not move forward without that info. Yeah, see, that's how it was. I mean, I only activated my own phone too, but if you have the clerk do it, then it's different on their end because they're activating it for you. And the guy said it only took 6 minutes for them to activate it. So, and then he was able to give, a random or the area code of his choice to the clerk, and then the clerk, no name, no email. I don't know if they would just use like a random one from the store. I don't know, Oh, okay. Hindsight says there was a post on my channel from Uvalde this year. We contacted the founder directly and he replied, which they used as a press release as well. Wow. Okay, Hindsight. I'm going to have to go look that up. Oh, man. Interesting. Wow. GH. Possible informant, in my opinion, think should be the key to solving. Well, I'm wondering too, Brenda, because, I'm wondering if GH has the key and, they're just overlooking it. I mean, it certainly seems like that could be a strong possibility, in my opinion. That is what, I mean, that is absolutely weird that they did not even worry about this person at all. And they didn't question them, allegedly until what, December? I think it was December. I'm surprised she's not begging on national TV. Like, we've never seen Katie come out and just be like, please, I just want my son. And it's just strange. She always has these weird little outbursts and things like that when she's up there, which makes me, wonder. Hey, Ann Brock. I hope you're feeling better, Seclusion. I'm so sorry. I must have missed something in the chat. I hope you're all right, buddy. That house seems like fake. Oh. I'm sorry. I must have missed something there, too. Oh. And when did everyone go home? So many unanswered questions. Well, it's odd that Lori was still there, SI officer. It's odd that she was still there. Like, what was she still doing there? How did she make it back so fast? Where did she stay? Was she at a hotel that night? Lori's never came out and said jack squat. I know Katie had some lady from the military, an old friend of hers and Seth's, and, that knew all of them, and so Primetime Buzz also says now Craddock only has one property in his name. So, well, I guess, I don't know if he transferred them to his wife is what I heard, but I don't have any proof of that. So I'm not sure, Brenda. I'm not sure if it, and that whole thing is fishy anyway. Well, I mean, they could have. It depends. It depends, Sammy. That's a great question. Sammy says, but where did they do all of their research? ? All their food alone. And then do they have a burner computer? Well, and a lot of those burner phones are not as, they're not as archaic as the flip phone. Like, you can find them with you know, any type of capability really. I mean, where it just kind of looks like a regular, you know, like iPhone or whatever. Oh, sorry, I don't want to put me and my kid there, but you know, any type of like iPhone, right? So, or Droid. But I think they could have done all of their research that way. And even those flip phones, you can still search the web. It's not going to pull up the best graphics and stuff, but I mean, you can still search the web. Oh, do I need to check? Oh, I think I'll check it again. Hey, Bo. What is the sensitive nature of the case per Craddock statement in my last statement? Yeah. Well, and that's a good point, Valley Gal. It's a good point. Yeah. What is the sensitive nature of the case? You know? Okay. Yes. Yes. Fantastic. Yeah, because I think I know where you're going with this. I just want to make sure. Thank you so much. Emailer. I don't want to say who emailed me, but I'll just say emailer because you know. What is the sensitive nature of? Yeah, and so that's the thing. I mean, if there's no foul play and we think Sebastian just ran off, which I mean, obviously, I don't believe that, you know, at all at this point. What's so sensitive about it? If we just have a teen runaway, I agree, Valley Gal. That's such a great point. Either way you view the case, where you stand, the main issue should be Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, not the Proudfoots. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And you know, the reason why I keep coming back to the house, to the Proud Feet, and really, I mean, obviously, it's going to be tough because we're to believe that Katie was the only one in the house. But I just can't believe that. I just can't believe that. And I also can't believe that a mother that didn't know where her child was at wouldn't be looking for her child. I get really stuck on that seclusion, and I understand. And everybody's going to have a difference of opinions. And there's going to be nights where we will just purely speculate on things. You know, again, like I said, I don't know anything for sure when it comes to these burner phones, but I wanted to show how easy it was to get one, and for it to be a true burner, that means that it does not come back to you at all, right? Cash paid, receipt in the trash, not associated with you or the state that you live in. You know, you could even have a different area code altogether. Like you said, do get one all the way down in Florida or get one all the way up in, you know, wherever. I mean, just depending on where you're living, right? You can get one anywhere in the United States. That to me says a lot. And especially because that video came from January of 2024, that is right before Sebastian went missing. So that's the time frame that we're actually looking at. And so I found that to be really important too. Again, not to blame anybody, but to say this could be a possibility, and it even is very probable that this is something that was used, in my opinion, especially when Chris says that his devices were squeaky clean. Again, I always look at the situation like if there's no evidence, then someone cleaned something up. I'm always going to think like that, you know, especially when there's no evidence that Sebastian could have left out of the house. There's no evidence on any Ring doorbell cameras or anything like that, because trust me, I think that we would have seen it by now. We would have seen it by now. You know, yet again, Chris thinking he's getting a compliment when they're really saying this little weird, yeah, and he didn't get it. Well, yeah, and I would think many of the investigators would think like that too, right? They'd be like, if there's no evidence, somebody cleaned it up. You know, thanks, Sammy G. Yeah, and I mean, and again, I'm just kind of going off of what Chris has said, which I find to be really, really weird. And then the duper's delight, Craddock only has one in his wife's name now. He had 3 a few weeks ago, according to Crime Time Buzz. Wow. See, and I haven't been keeping up with his real estate escapades. Well, and mainly because I've been focusing more on this lights video and then, theorizing what could have happened up into that certain point. Because again, I don't know where Sebastian is. If I did, then, I would have the $1 million answer, wouldn't I, Chris? But I don't have that. I don't know that. I don't know anything for sure. A part of me says that Sebastian could be in a school someplace, or maybe being hidden somewhere, right? Part of me thinks that could be a possibility, a probability. It's just been so long, they've really put up this charade for a very, very long time. And so it's just hard for me to believe. But then again, I'm not going to lose hope, because I don't know, I agree with that. Sebastian is the core, and he has to be, and he has been mocked and humiliated. Well, he has been. He has been humiliated publicly on every level. That, my friends, is a travesty. I agree, Seclusion. I agree. And, he deserves much, much better than this. He does. But I also, again, have to point back to who turned this into a circus. Because you're right, Sebastian doesn't deserve that. But when you have a mother and a stepfather that come on to the social media websites and platforms and tell people that Sebastian likes to have accidents in his pants, to me, they're the ones that humiliated Sebastian by saying that publicly about him, saying that he didn't have any friends, saying that he was so awkward and he used to be up in everybody's personal space. Even when Chris says something nice about Sebastian, he's saying something rude, and he doesn't even realize how rude it is that he's saying it. And so, hey, Tory Banks. And so my problem there is, hey, Jules, is that we have a stepfather and a mother, and she laughs. His mother laughs when her husband demeans, degrades, and makes fun of Sebastian's rhythm, Sebastian's dancing, Sebastian's anything. They're the ones that turned it like this. They didn't go to a true crime creator who had, 1 million people, like Grizzly. I don't know if Grizzly has 1 million, or someone like Plunder, who, in my opinion, those ladies really do a great job of sleuthing. They have a huge following. They take what they do very seriously. Why didn't they go to those people? Why won't they go on with Deception Detective? Why won't they go on with Chris McDonough? He's asked them to come up. He's asked them to do an interview. He's asked to speak with them. They're not going to talk to him. They're going to go to somebody that's like, hey, bitch, let me roll another blunt. I mean, that's their own fault, not mine. And I'm just using their words. I didn't make it up. Jules says, I can say this. I was never threatened or stalked down there. It was just creators and other people online who bullied me away. Wow, Jules, that is really powerful. See, and that's the whole nother aspect to it. Discredit, right? Humiliate, and then everybody gang up. I'm so sorry, Jules. That's so ridiculous. Good to see you, Jules. Thank you for being here. Yeah, and it's ridiculous. It's like, anybody that is willing to speak up against the crap, right, or help in any way is automatically discredited. But somebody that they'll pay 15 G's to perpetuate their narrative and show the footage that they think is important, like, you know, a kid going and getting his cat and, you know, bringing it into the house, you know, that's all good. That's all good. Again, they're the ones that are turning it into something crazy, you know. Oh, Andrea, Crime Time Buzz CTB is another YouTube creator that covers Sebastian and other cases here on YouTube. Thanks, YouTuber. Sorry, guys, I'm a little bit behind in chat. You guys know how I get. But I like reading your comments. I hate to skip over, and I know it's just... there's a vet in the building she walked from, but I didn't open until April 2024. I even thought maybe she brought her ketamine, but if they were working on it and water wasn't on, she may had to pee. Oh. The green hoodie, I think you're talking about. Trent says when you activate a phone in the store, there is no info attached to it until you go to fund it again on the provider's site. To keep it anonymous, you have to fund it with another card from the store. Ah, gotcha. So they're just buying the cards. Yeah, because I thought about, thank you, Trent, because I thought about the cards, right? And also I was just thinking that they probably would buy a new burner, you know, and just, I mean, I know that would be more appearances at the counter over there, but if nobody's looking and if nobody thinks to look, it wouldn't be a bad option, you know. Or they could even give somebody a $20 bill and be like, hey, can you go activate, you know, go buy me a phone, you know. I mean, and again, with the way this case has gotten so big and everything, I'm sure somebody would have came out by now and said, hey, Mr. Proudfoot paid me to do it, or Kathy Bowers paid me to do, you know, whatever. I'm just saying whoever did that would have, you know, been told on, I would imagine. So I doubt that they would take so many risks, you know. I'm thinking about lower risks because, again, militarily trained, they're trained to look at the risks, right? That's just something that they're trained with. Risk management, that sort of thing. SI officer says, in my opinion, everyone was there that was there for the poker party. Yeah. And I wish that there was more information about that dang poker party. Yeah, they watch everything. Exactly, Cinderella. Trent, and the card does not require any personal information. It can be a fictional setup. Yes, exactly. Especially if the phone's already set up that way. That would be the best way to really do that, right? Is just purchase the cards. And I mean, you know, again, if they did it all at the same time, it would be less of a paper trail. One receipt, all the cards. Now, again, they might need to purchase cards here and there, but if they did it in a way, you know, where they got, like, say 500 minutes, I mean, you know, that might last them a while if they're just texting back and forth. Right. And they could have too staged some of that stuff too. See, because SI officer says, and in my opinion, they staged everything like search history, texts, etc. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, and that was another thing that Katie had brought up too. She said that Sebastian was searching on the internet about Taylor Swift, but then she said that they didn't give him a whole lot of internet time, you know. TN nurse, absolutely. Your best detectives will say no evidence is evidence, and it's loud evidence. Yeah, and I always use the steering wheel as a you know, an example. But I mean, it's anything, right? Especially digital, because like, just think about how much we use our phones. Like, I texted how many people today? I've emailed somebody back today. One person. It's horrible. It's bad. It's bad, guys. But, you know, and then I'm over there doing YouTube, or I'm over there, you know, texting on Messenger. I'm looking at Facebook. I'm doing all of these things, right? But if you barely see anything like that, it's something. I think it says a lot. Oh, I don't know, Valley Girl, if that's true. Is it true that Carter is no longer taking calls regarding the case? No evidence is evidence, Cinderella. I agree. Yeah, so the credit card is like, a no-go, right? You just cash all the way. Yeah, because Trent says, yes, hindsight, if you use a credit card instead, they verify the billing address. Yeah, and you don't want to do that, right? You want to do a true blue burner phone, Ann Reynolds says, if you can remember when on the Dog the Bounty Hunter show, he had Leland go to the store across the street and get some burner phones. Yeah, you know what, Miss Ann, that's such a great point. I mean, it's so easy to just go over there and grab them really quick, See Taylor, Sebastian Strong, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's so easy. That's why I was like so taken back by this video, Yeah, I'm always super careful too, because I'm never sure, I always want to double check things. Because again, I don't want people to be like, well, Lady Freedom got this wrong, so she doesn't know, what she's talking about. But I'm also not afraid to get it wrong every now and then, And some of the ways, or some of the things my research brings me to, I don't want to be right about. I'd rather not be right. So there's that. Yeah, well, that's true, Sammy. I mean, that it was very narcissistic, in my opinion. Sammy says, yeah, because only narcissists would think, oh, your phones are really clean and is a compliment. Right. Yeah. And he totally did too. He was like, oh, yeah, they even complimented me, and I'm like, what? Either they're not doing proper investigation or, exactly. You're incredibly narcissistic for thinking for 1 minute that they're giving you a compliment when really they're saying, that's odd that there's not, these devices are so clean. Especially, I'm sure, look, law enforcement sees all kinds of different ages of people's phones. I'm sure some of the teenagers have more crap on their phones than anybody, I would imagine, I mean, because don't even get me started on TikTok. I hope that's not true, Valley Gal. I really hope that's not true. Yeah, he said that he was known at school for that. Oh my gosh, TN officer, who says that? Like, even if that is the truth, why would you say that online to everybody? I mean, especially after we know how horrible, people can get. It's like, I love Grizzly too, C. Taylor, but I'm saying, because I don't think they should have came to me at all. I was brand new. Even still, I mean, it's like, but I mean, go to somebody who has like so many followers, right? That is like huge or whatever, because that's how you get more people. That's just how you get more people. If I didn't think they would probably take me out of the chat, I would just do that in every chat. Just go in there randomly. Sebastian Rogers missing, Hendersonville, Tennessee, 5-5. Just go into every random chat. Try to pick all genres of people. It couldn't hurt. They might leave it. Who knows? Especially if we go into some of these like like the big ones, like when Vinny's doing his thing. Let's spam Vinny's chat. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean? It would just something to think about. Yeah, all cash. It would all have to be cash YouTuber, and that's the thing. Like, yeah, he's young in mind. That's another thing that they were telling us that was, not true about Sebastian. Not true at all. Not true at all. He's actually social if you get him around people that have common likes, Cacti Collector says, the thing is, if someone is hiding Sebastian until he turns 18, what kind of story will they come up with? No matter what, someone will be arrested, in my opinion. Well, and I was thinking that too. Cacti Collector, because that's always kind of where I get stuck. I mean, they'd be in big trouble for pulling the scam, but then again, Katie and Chris have custody, right? So it's whatever they choose to do, And if law enforcement's not doing anything about it, they're not wasting any resources. That's terrible. I don't know. That's the rabbit hole I go down. I don't know why they would bring him back when he turns 18. I can only hope that that would be the best case scenario, in my opinion, because at least he'd be back. Because I can't imagine. Good night, Hindsight. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to try to do an earlier show tomorrow, guys. I really am. Oh. Sasha says, wait, lady, a burner card, green hoodie, bought in the burner card, so it couldn't be traced to KP. Oh. I mean, I know they passed something back. Well, okay, I can't say I know that they did. It appears that they, did, maybe allegedly pass something back and forth. So maybe it was a burner card. I'm just thinking, because we know they use their own cell phones to make the 2.5-hour phone call, allegedly, right? And give or take, because I guess it was like 2.5 to 3 hours long. But Sasha, maybe that is it. I know, Mom, and you've been through it too. And see, that's review mirror people don't think of that stuff. It's automatic. I agree, Robini. There's some weird reason why that lady used the bathroom. I agree, Ansetters. Smart, sneaky and clever, good manipulators. I agree with that. I do. SI officer says way back in the beginning of this case, there was said to have been like an Instacart delivery that requested trash bags and a burner phone. Really? I do not remember that. But there was so much talk back and forth, on different, like they were on Facebook a lot. And see, I'm involved in the groups on Facebook, but some of them I wasn't, right? And of course I wasn't in their neighborhood one. Criminals have the phones a year or more in advance, and you can go grab one with cash, I would suppose. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, Mom. And they totally could do this all with cash, all of it with cash, which is really interesting. It's really, really interesting. Thanks, YouTuber. Hey, Mama Davis. Yeah, I've not heard of that before, SI officer. That's so interesting. Hey, Shadow. Mama Davis, yes, somebody bought that or brought that up, and I think that the person was acting very odd in the situation. It was very weird. Yeah, and all of this is so weird. I mean, it is. It's all so strange. It's like, trying to figure all of this out and then making it fit together, Hey, C-Star. C-Star says false reporting, hiding from Seth, who shares custody, lying to the police. I think there would be consequences, just in my opinion. Yeah, and C-Star, that's another thing that I get so frustrated with. It's like, why won't they just tell Seth, here's the video from us getting home, or show that Sebastian got home? I don't understand that either. I feel like that is so cruel. I don't know. That's just my opinion, though. I'd be showing everybody my stuff. I'd be like, hey, Yeah, a phone card purchase because KP didn't make it. Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing. I'm just wondering how they could have pulled it off to where they didn't have anything on their phones. Like their phones were so clean. Yeah, and see that's the problem. There would be legal consequences. They have shared custody. Well, that's true, C. Taylor. That is true. Yeah, if it's 50-50 custody. Yeah, that is true. Thank you, C. Taylor, for that correction, because, yeah, you're right. They do have 50-50. I get stuck on the fact that the schools are so secretive, too. That's another thing that I'm like, ugh. Sasha says if Green Hoodie purchased the card, then KP couldn't be attached to the burner. Yeah, like even if she was to purchase like a phone to switch back and forth. Well, that's Robini, I know, and see that's not lost on me either, because one, they don't have audio, or two, it's not really Sebastian on the audio, and Seth would know, in my opinion. Yeah, that's really a strong possibility in both, because we've not heard the audio, and I don't know even where that originated besides Chris and Katie. But they swear up and down that they have like that. Well, they're saying that they had the Life 360 advanced, right? Or, whatever, upgraded. Then they also said that they had some sort of dash cam, right? But it wasn't really a dash cam. It was something different. Which is, again, going around in circles. And Sasha says KP knew she wasn't going to purchase the card. No way. Mama Davis says, I certainly would be on every YouTube channel that would have me screaming for help to find my son if I was KP, not hiding. Yeah, and that gets me too, Mama Davis. That gets me too. It certainly does. And yeah, there's no real excuse for it, right? If you're too emotional, if you're, if people are being rude, they're throwing tomatoes at you, it doesn't matter, right? Because you just want to find your son. We've had that kind of perpetuated, in my opinion, by the Proud Feet from the beginning. This, oh, well, everybody just bashes us when we come out here. So what? People bash me when I get up here, but so what? Let them do it. You're not going to stop that. Everybody's going to have an opinion. They might like you, love you, hate you. Maybe they're indifferent to you. They're neutral. They don't know what to think. I've known a lot of people just out on the streets, like, even just people that come in the chat, because I try to allow people to speak their mind and not, as long as they're not being disrespectful or rude in the chat, I try to let it, kind of let things slide a little bit here and there. Because it's not really that big a deal to me. You're not going to pierce me with your words or whatever. Do I like to hear things, horrible things that people think that might happen to Sebastian? I don't like to hear that in here. No, I don't. Particularly, I just don't appreciate it. But I understand that people are going to have a difference of opinion. I get that. A lot of people think that Chris and Katie have guilty knowledge. A lot of people think that Seth has guilty knowledge. I don't understand how they think that, but again, we're all different. Some people think that the parents don't have anything to do with it at all. So to me, it's not a reason to hate. It's just a disagreement. Yeah, they did C. Taylor, they did establish custody in California, in my opinion. based on those filings, because that was all taken care of in California, in my opinion. Absolutely. CP talk. CP talk. Lori says exactly, Mama Davis. Yeah, that's big time premeditated behavior. Where is Green Hoodie and who is Green Hoodie? People back to the front. Yeah. Well, I know, and it's weird that they want to protect that Green Hoodie person. And I get that they're not going to be like, putting Green Hoodie's full name out there or anything like that. But I mean, it's just odd that that's the one person that they've cleared, in my opinion, too. I kind of go back to that as well and wonder. C-Star says the timing is so suspicious. Sebastian was going to live with Seth, and KP and CP had been looking for homes. They said then suddenly he's gone. I agree. I agree with that. I do. And that's another reason that brings me back to the school being a possibility, and it doesn't escape me that they could have done that and they didn't realize how big it was going to get, and it doesn't escape me that if they put him in a behavioral center, something could have happened to him there. Because let's face it, Sebastian didn't need that. He's not a BD kid. He's not the kid that's, robbing the, grocery store, or, he's not that kid. He doesn't have those tendencies to be sneaking out of the house and doing all these things, right? I'm not saying that kids that sneak out of the house are the worst in the world either. I'm just saying, he didn't have a propensity to do that kind of thing. It wasn't like he was, getting in trouble left and right, only getting in trouble left and right in his home, in my opinion, and kids can't be expected to be on their best behavior all the time. They're kids. What I don't appreciate is adults that don't know how to be on their best behavior. Because I haven't seen the best behavior from these people. I haven't. And if I did, then I might think differently. I think I definitely would think differently. Brenda says, for being in the military, CP and KP are weak. If a few negative comments bother them so bad, they can't look for their son, in my opinion. Well said, Brenda. And that's another problem that I have. All of this hem-haw back and forth, hokey pokey about, law enforcement told us not to. Okay, law enforcement told you not to in the beginning. They told you to stay home. You didn't listen to them then. Law enforcement wanted you to stick around the house because they were handling it, right? They had a lot of agencies out there. They had everyone out searching for Sebastian. A lot of different resources were spent searching for Sebastian all over the area, and then they moved it into the Proudfoot residence. They said that they searched the Proudfoot residence 10 times, and that was on day 5 of the search for Sebastian. So at that point, they said that they searched 10 times. They also brought the Faro technology, that kind of tripod with the camera, it looked like. But that is the Faro technology that was used that recreates the crime scene, and they can go back and they can go back with virtual reality and view that again later on down the line. So, I mean, in my opinion, when they bust out some technology like that, it's a criminal investigation. It's to capture the crime scene. But, Chris and Katie wanted us to think the whole time that they, we've been cooperating with law enforcement. Well, sure. Okay. You're cooperating. That's great. But don't try to make us all think that they're not looking at where the house, don't try to make us all think that they're not looking at the place that Sebastian went missing from. We do have to match the activity with the time. I agree, Sasha. That's a big thing to correlate and to corroborate, in my opinion. And again, this is just us speculating. purely speculative. Sebastian seemed really level-headed. I agree, Cinderella, and he seemed like he wanted to please his mother. He was searching for acceptance from his mother, in my opinion. Now, I base that on the Texas Roadhouse video, where we can see their interaction. Thanks, Lori. Yeah, we can see their interaction. Cinderella says, "Whap, got him." Oh, sorry guys. There we go. Sebastian disappeared so those two wouldn't go to prison for child abuse felonies, in my opinion. Yeah, that's what it seems like, Brenda. I mean, because we know that CPS was involved 4 times at least before, and the 5th one, it was said by Chris Proudfoot that they had to, I guess based on Tennessee law, because Sebastian went missing, that there was an open CPS investigation as a result of that. So, again, his words. Ava, good to see you. I'm glad you're here, Ava. The people he lived with said he never went out. Exactly. Yeah, they said he never went out. And so the neighbors were like, we didn't even know a kid lived there, because they hadn't lived there very long. I think it was under 2 years, just off the top of my head. Yeah, exactly. Sebastian said allegedly that the woman he lived with didn't like him, and he didn't think that Mr. Chris liked him either. But I mean, why would he? If he's over there spraying him with the pressure washer, if he's over there telling his mom, come get your, R word, which, disgusting. Disgusting. And those are people that are coming out and saying that, It is so sad, Holly S. It is. It is so sad. And there's a reason why people think that they had something to do with it, or they have guilty knowledge. Because if that never happened, I mean, look, I have my theories about what happened to Jack and Lily. Don't get me wrong. I have theories. I've watched what's going on in that case. I see what's going on. I think I have a pretty good grasp of what's going on. The stories aren't adding up. I never liked the timeline. But, I don't see Mr. Martell coming out and saying that Jack and Lily like to pee in their pants. How rude. And this is another one.
Very high functioning.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's why, like, I was trying to just put it out there. It's like, everybody has come up with this idea, and that's not the case. Mm-hmm. People would know Sebastian, like, if we had never said he was autistic, people would not have a clue that Sebastian was autistic. They would thought something was wrong with him and not ever said autism.
Right. And you know what?
And all Granny said was, he's very high functioning. He's very high functioning autistic. And then Chris takes it upon himself to be a jerk. I'm sorry. It makes me really mad, because I don't think there's ever been something wrong with Sebastian. Maybe that's, Detroit says maybe that's why they went to Disney World, because he could be anywhere, right, KP? Yeah, they make me sick, liars. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They were looking for Sebastian at Disney. They hadn't checked there yet, right? The Detroit, they didn't search there yet. I mean, it's beyond disgusting, and Sebastian was, not only failed by the system, big time. Where was his counselor at? Was his counselor one of the people who made the report? Because I'm sorry, but I don't see how she couldn't have made a report off of what was said, in my opinion, allegedly. Yeah, pressure washers hurt, right, Mama? I mean, Mama Davis, it's like, I don't know how many pounds of pressure was the one that I showed on here, but I mean, it could probably take off, skin. That's how bad, And I don't care if he was just joking with him. I mean, you can turn the pressure down too. But still, that's something that you expect from a big brother, not from a stepfather. You know what? I've thought about that too, Robini. Is there any way for civilians to ask or petition for NCIS to investigate or to court-martial these two allegedly? I can't believe they've been allowed to do half of the crap that they've done, honestly. I can't wrap my brain around how that could be considered to be anything that they, any kind of standard that they're held to, right, in the military. I don't know. That's a great question. Yeah, I think the same thing with Summer, Sasha. Absolutely. And that's the thing. I mean, CPS, right? But in Sebastian's case, 4 times? Is it because you were afraid to take him out of his environment, CPS? Because he's autistic, But let's not forget they didn't even notify his father. Yeah, well, and that's the thing. It's funny because, Sebastian wasn't having that same reaction at Seth's house. I agree too, Lori. I believe that CP abused Sebastian any way he could. CP didn't like Sebastian. I agree with that. And again, I do not want to be right about that. That's not something that I feel good saying, right? It's not something that I even would like to think about at all. But when you have all of these factors all into one, considering everybody's accounts, and they're all coming back to this, family not doing right by this child, where else are we supposed to look? Where else are we supposed to look when this kid went missing from his house? Who else are we supposed to look at when his mother was the last one with him? We see this mysterious lights, coming from the house, and then those mysterious lights going back. It's not that mysterious. It's really, really simple, in my opinion. And that's why they got fired, Sasha, is because they messed it up. Well, and maybe they were threatened and manipulated too. CPS, very possible. Very possible. Ooh, ouch, Detroit. Detroit says, my friend last week was using her pressure washer and accidentally hit her big toe. Oh, she lost her toenail and had to get stitches. She said it hurts like hell. Oh no. She had flip-flops on. Oh gosh, that sounds like me. I would be doing yard work in flip-flops and, oh gosh. Oh my goodness. I hope she's all right. Oh, see, but that is some heavy duty stuff to be able to do that, And, I don't know that he put it on full blast or whatever, but still, I mean, it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's like living with a mean older brother, but that's your stepdad. And then, you can't, it's not like you can go off and like haul off and smack him one, you know what I mean? Because that's your stepdad and then you're in trouble, It's not like fighting with a brother, but he's treating him like that, Valley Gale says parenting plans are recommended in CA, but required in TN. In my opinion, did something change? I think I heard one of them talk about a parenting plan, in my opinion. Well, Chris was talking about how he wrote the parenting plan but I think that was the one in California, you know. I mean, it's Maman says we're hoping to foster because so many need temporary homes and they have children in hospitals and sleeping on floors in the offices so much. Oh, most workers won't want removal, in my opinion, unless they know 100%. See, Maman, that's what I'm talking about. You know, I think that they really thought that they could handle everything by getting Chris out of the house, in my opinion. You know, I really do. If Chris was like, "Hey, I'm gonna stay. I'm going work in Memphis. I'm not gonna come home." Da da da. You know, they could have said okay. You know, but we know that there was something to do with DV that was going on as well. I mean, it wasn't just on Sebastian, in my opinion, and that comes from, you know, some of the reports that had come out and that was discussed on Mr. and Mrs. E's Crimecast. You know, it's all very unfortunate. But I did want you guys to see that today, and I wanted to bring this all up. And no, I know what you're saying, Mom, and no, definitely, I know you're not defending. No, and even if you are, that's okay. Like I said, I'm not up here to be like, you know, Chris and Katie, they're just so guilty. I don't believe that. In my opinion, I don't know 100% what could have happened here. That's why we speculate. You know, I have my own opinion. I do. I have my own opinion, and I try to share it with you all. I try to say, hey, I think this is bullshit if it's bullshit. If I think that there's some merit to it, I'll say, okay, I kind of think that, right? But, you know, I never want to come up here and make you guys think like, oh, well, if I don't believe everything, you know, Lady is saying, or, hey, if I don't agree with Lady, I can't be in the chat. That's like so counterproductive. I can't even begin to tell you guys. I just know that we have to be, you know, respectful to each other in here. And trust me, there's days where I'm like, yeah, it's 100%. I just feel like that's what happened. I just think that's what happened because of this, this, and this, right? But then there'd be other times where I think back, well, you know, these schools are very secretive. And, you know, again, we just don't know. We just don't know. But I thought it was interesting when I was doing this research into the phones and things like that, which, you know, we may even do a part 2 on it, just depending on, you know, more of what I find. I just think it's worth exploring. I think it's worth exploring. And, you know, it really bothers me, again, that instead of talking about where Sebastian could be, that Mama's over there worried about her bling bling and her vacations and all of this. That is not normal. That is not normal. And no one is going to get me to believe that that is normal, right? Because that's where I stand, and I have to stand firm on what I believe. But in the same way, it's very difficult, especially when we hear all of these different stories. And like I said, I wasn't expecting to hear this story that I forgot about, you know, that Katie had told the neighbor. But here I am listening to Justin's, and he has it up there, right? He's reading from it, the post from the alleged neighbor, saying, this is what Katie told me. And then Katie tells the other person this, and then Katie tells the other person this, right? That doesn't make any sense to me, because everything should be pretty copacetic. It should all match up with what her original story is. Not like, oh, I checked the bathroom, like she told Dateline, or, oh, I did this. Oh, I thought he was getting breakfast. Ha ha ha. Yeah, she stopped saying that when JLR busted her ass out on it. So I think busting her ass out is not such a bad thing, because maybe that'll start, you know, guiding her towards the truth. It hasn't yet, in my opinion, but, you know, we can hope and pray, because it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Because it's not adding up. You know, she should have one story, that stayed consistent, not all these lapses in time, like the, what is it, hour and 45 minutes between the time that they got home and Sebastian went to bed. And then there's all these lapses in time too, like, the noise and then the thud and then, but then again, she tells the neighbor, oh yeah, Sebastian told me to go to bed. There's no way. There's no way I'm buying that, Yeah, Mama Davis says exactly, lady. She keeps adding to the story. Yeah, she does add to it, right? As they go along, as they hear what public perception is, as they see, more videos and more things coming out, right? The flashlight was added in. I just can't believe it. We can only hope, right, Lori? We can only hope. Yeah. And they are liars, and they have lied. They have lied, and it wasn't like, oh, I forgot that detail, or, hey, it's been just over and over and over again. And the biggest lie that they really started telling was, the fact that they were so emotional over this, crying on panel, but really you can't see anybody's face or anything. Oh, we're too emotional. We got to do the only hands, that's it. You can only film our hands because we're so emotional. But yet nobody sniffled, nobody wiped away tears. Chris went like this on his beard one time. I tried to up the audio so you can kind of hear it, him scratching at his beard. I mean, it's just crazy. And I would never think anything about them. I mean, I'll tell you, it would bother me that there's no proof that Sebastian, walked off or left the house. That would bother me. But I definitely wouldn't be going so hard on them if it wasn't for their actions, their statements. Because Sebastian can't defend himself. And they know that he can't defend himself. And they're steady getting up here, being so rude and telling everybody how he likes to do this and he likes to do that and all this false crap about him. It's gross. What got me was why the F would you care what any one of us say? We're tiny channels. There's 7 million people in Tennessee, 5 in Kentucky, 3.5 in Alabama. But sure, go unhinged on YouTubers. That's what sus is. That is what is sus as heck, in my opinion. I agree, Maman. It drives me nuts. I'll be like, how come people are going after somebody with 100 people? Like, it doesn't, it's like, wow, it doesn't matter because they don't want anybody, not one person talking about it. It's crazy. Or looking at them, or looking at the house, or looking at his truck, or looking at Mama, or looking at anybody, right? Why did they get so bent out of shape? Kathy says, how can we, the public, know the truth when their stories have changed 5 times in the last year? Yeah, Kathy, and a really good, important point was brought up earlier to me today too. They probably don't remember what they're telling people half the time. Think about how it's got to be, stressful just being up there talking to somebody, knowing that you're on a national platform, knowing that you're on a, social media platform. It's nerve-wracking, even though, I'll have like 100 people in here. It's still like, wow, there's 100 people watching, right? And everybody's watching every move you make, and every time you make a micro expression. I get that. It's got to be nerve-wracking. But could you imagine being up there and lying your ass off on top of all of that? Like, beyond nerve-wracking, in my opinion. Beyond nerve-wracking. The only Hanson. I'm Mama Davis. I don't know what the heck, No, Sammy, I'm just saying extra in my opinions because, of course, I want to just be clear that this is just my research and this is on, just generalities. Kathy, that's funny. Kathy says, Sammy, I think Lady Freedom is having growing pains. I'm telling you, I'm having a brain pain from all the, tech I've had to endure, It's like, give me real estate software or like, something that I can help sell leads on. I could show you how to work that thing all day long, but give me, walkie-talkie. I'm like, I don't know how that thing works, I know there has to be antennas and frequencies and da 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 da. And oh boy, it's just like, it makes my head spin. But yeah, but I just also want people to know that they can come in here and, you know, tell me why they think I'm wrong. You know, just tell me respectfully. Don't be like, lady, I think you're an idiot, because you're going to lose me then. I'm going to be like, okay, well, if I'm an idiot, then why do you care what I have to say? But I mean, you know, just tell me how you feel, because I think that's important. Believe me, if I could talk to somebody that talked to the Proud Feet and they would give me information, we could, compare notes, I would be down for that. You know, again, I don't hate anybody for their opinion. Look, we might like the same music, we might be into the same movies and all of that. Like, we might have everything in common, but we just don't have this in common. That, I mean, it's not a reason to hate. It's not a reason to hate. Brenda says they don't want us talking about the 3 a.m. lights video with the flashlight going back to the house. We should show that over and over. Well, we're going to get into it. Again, I was having a little bit of trouble because I was reminded, and I kind of forgot this when I was getting, you know, so far into the gusto of everything. But, you know, the flashlight video, it's been alleged that it's taken from a cell phone. So, like, the video was taped off of a cell phone, recorded right from a cell phone. And then, you know, that's the version we're seeing. So I always have to remember that too. So I've been working on a lot, you know, behind the scenes and things like that. Thank you, Kathy. I am stressed. So who said that? Sammy. Sammy's, and you know, I've had way too much coffee, Sammy, too. I don't know if anybody noticed that at the beginning. I was talking pretty fast, but I can do like shots on my, this is terrible. I could do with the shot button, and it's just espresso then, and it's like straight up. And I drank a lot of coffee today, but it's just, you know, kind of when I go through the rabbit hole, I like to drink coffee. Yeah, I don't have any opinions over. Yeah, I don't, and I don't have any control over what you guys, your opinions are either. I accept people's opinions, though. You know, it's like, as long as it's not something, you know, off the wall. Like, if you're going to come in here and be like, well, I think that Chris, beamed down from above, right? He was, you know, a UFO flew over, dropped Chris down. You know, he took Sebastian, came back up. Like, I'm probably going to not take that seriously. And I'm sorry if I don't. But I mean, you know, if someone comes in here and says, have you ever thought of this, Lady Freedom? Then I would think, okay, yeah, you know. Or if somebody emailed me, maybe they don't feel comfortable talking about it here, please email me, you know, because I'd love to talk that way if you're not comfortable. Well, and you know, Seth has just been so straightforward. It's hard. It's very hard. It's difficult. I mean, you know. Yeah, that's for the haters, by the way, Mama Davis. Well, and I think that we have a really good chat in here. Like, I feel like people think that they can say, you know, what they feel and stuff like that, you know. And I understand, like, I knew some of these topics were going to get really heavy tonight, because obviously, you know, you're trying to conceal something if you're using a burner phone, whether it's your identity, whether it's your communications, whether it's, you know, like Sammy was saying, their search history, which is huge in finding out what happened. Those are the things that, of course, I mean, are going to point to a nefarious ending. And I understand that. But I do want to preface that it could also be contacting some of these schools. I can't get over that. I really can't. Especially because, you know, in those schools, they think that they're doing what's right. Anne says, my husband's phone isn't registered with anything Google. Yeah, and I mean, it just shows how easy it is. Anne Brock says, in my opinion, CP and KP need to open up and talk. Enough is enough. Yeah, well, and that's the thing, you know, or even just Katie, you know, that's my big thing, because like I said, if I'm to believe Chris, which I don't, obviously, but if I am to believe him, just say, then please, by all means, Katie, come out and talk, right? If he wasn't home and he had nothing to do with that night, then how come she doesn't come out and talk by herself where nobody's interrupting her? Um, you know, nobody needs to interrupt Katie when she's talking. Let her talk. You know, that's one thing I will say that I've heard a lot of times. Not on every interview. I think Smiley was really good at not over talking Katie. And if Katie was going to say something, because sometimes it's hard when you're on the, when you're on here, and you're up on the panel and stuff. But I mean, anytime. But there was a lot of times where, even with Duchess for the Missing, there was times where I could hear Katie start to say something, and they would overtalk her, right? Because she comes in very low, right? Every time I've reviewed Katie, I've had to always up her volume, and then I'd have to save everything, and then I'd have to up her volume, right? Because that way we can understand what she's saying. It's very difficult for her. She does the thing where she shies away, and it's like, at first I was thinking it was because of, a controlling husband and kind of maybe a battered woman situation. But then I realized more and more that Katie has way more involvement, right? And it's very reminiscent to me, as I've said before up here, of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, where it was like, oh, she was abused. Oh, poor Gypsy. And then I realized, wait, no, not so fast. Not so fast. And that's the way I feel about Katie. I'm not saying that two things can't be true at the same time. I do think that if I was in that family, I'd be afraid to cross them. I definitely would. But I think I would make that step to cross them, or at least to try to get the hell away from them as fast as possible, in my opinion, although I know it's not that easy. Oh no. Brenda, that's funny. Lori says, I don't understand why Seth has not hired a lawyer and started proceedings with CP and KP about where Sebastian is. I'm thinking, I know he had said something in the chat the other day, Lori, and I'm thinking it has a lot to do with like the fact that Sumner County is not giving the information. But I will say that I've often wondered about maybe like a civil lawsuit. Because then they would have to come in and do the depositions, sort of like what the Petito Schmitz did with Gabby's case, because the Laundries weren't going to come out and say crap, and they lawyered up, and but I understand. I understand that. Exactly, he keeps saying when he brings the truth. Yes, bring the truth. Well, and that's the thing, Kathy. Chris said that he knows the truth, but he just can't tell us. And that's crap too. In my opinion, it's just crap. That's true, Valley Gal. Maybe he has, but he hasn't talked about it. I know, Lori. I know, and it's just frustrating because we want to see good things for Seth. We want Sebastian home with his loved ones. You know what I mean? Like, as much as we all want him home, I'm sure his loved ones want him home even that much more. I mean, Seth, absolutely, no question. Something's got to give, Lori. I know. And that's kind of where we've been at for a long time. I feel like I've been like that too, because I thought, when we got a second wind on the case, which was about the 6-month mark, right? We got the new FBI flyer, and the dog was involved with At Night and things like that. I was just like, okay, there's going to be a break. There's got to be something. Like you said, something's got to give. But we haven't seen that. And then now with this new stuff out, and I have to be honest, I haven't even looked at X yet to see what's out there. Oh, and I know what SI Officer Detroit, now that you say that, I know what SI Officer was talking about, because when I was in Betty's chat the other day, it kept doing that, kept going black on me, and then I'd do an ad, and then I'd have to come out and redo it. So I don't know why YouTube does that. I don't know if it's like, I don't know if they put more ads, because I don't have the YouTube Premium or anything like that. I'm kind of cheap with stuff like that. Nate's like, you gotta get it, it's really good, and I'm like, I don't really need it. I don't care. I'll just skip the ad or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to put out something to think about there, guys, because like I said, I'm kind of trying to figure out how this all could have went off without there being much evidence. And again, that makes me want to look into things more when they say there's no evidence. You know, then I'm speculating harder than ever. If they were to come out and give some solid evidence, then I would probably try to go with that and see where it leads. But yeah, it's just been too long. And again, if you guys have information on the poker party, I'm still ready to listen to that. We're still on course to have our special guest on Monday. And yeah, absolutely, Mama Davis, absolutely. Thank you all so much for being here. And we're still on, track for that, for this coming Monday. And again, I want to show the cleaned up version that I received for the lights video, but I just kind of want to preface that, how it came about too. So, but I'll be working on a lot of stuff behind the scenes like I usually do, and looking at collaborating too with a couple of different channels. So with Jen and MMO, I'm going to be working on doing some collaborations there. And so I just really, really believe that if we all put our research together, put our heads together, compare notes, that there may be something in there that we can connect, more so than if we just, keep to ourselves and only have our own little, ideas and research, that we're going over. If we give it to someone else and we say, well, look at this, what do you think of this? And same with you, Mom, and we're going to be doing a collab too. We do collaborations all the time, or we have, just bringing everybody together, for that is really important, because again, we're not helping by just keeping it to ourselves. If the more that we put it out, and I can fault law enforcement for that all the time. If I'm doing the same thing, then I'm in the wrong too, So I really think that it's important to make sure that we get the stuff out, get together, see where it leads us. It can't hurt. It cannot hurt. And I think that we have, oh no, Detroit, your comments are just disappearing. Oh no. I hope I didn't press the button. No, I see you. I still see you, Detroit. Thank you, SI officer. Thank you, Sasha. No, I don't think I pressed the button, Detroit, but I'll check too. Yeah. Well, that's it. I know the truth, but I can't tell you. You gotta out of here. No crap. No, you don't, CP. I know, and that's the thing that's like crazy to me. It's crazy to me, Sasha. It's like, oh, okay, well, anybody that believes that, okay, nothing to see here, Yeah, absolutely, Mom, and absolutely. I think it's like, strength in numbers, and I mean, everything that we can put together and piece together is important. Every single thing that we can do, because there might be things that I've not thought of or heard of, that someone else has, so I'm down to do it, I think it's important. So, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, you guys. You guys are awesome, and I appreciate you being here, and keeping the interest up in Sebastian's case and trying to figure this out with me, because I don't have all the answers. I'm just a regular person. But I think that together we can make like a huge difference, so. All right, guys. Well, I love you all so very, 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 very much. And I will see you all tomorrow night. I'm going to try to do an earlier live. So like around 10 o'clock, right? because I know that'll be like 9 o'clock for most of you guys because I'm Eastern time. So, you know, let's try for an earlier live, and I'll try to put it up as soon as I can. Yeah, and then I want to do an even earlier live Saturday. So, because I know there's a lot of people that, you know, I like keep you guys up, but I know a lot of us are night owls, so I want to make sure we get a couple shows in here and there, you know, at different times. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you so very much, and you all have a wonderful rest of your night.